All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fight. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC 319, Plessis versus Chimaev, taking a look at the Contender Series Week 1 and taking a look at UFC Fight Night Walker versus Zhang. And to do all of that with me, as always, my good friend, my co-host, the Ohio player, a man who will 50-40 you in the crucifix position if you talk shit, Chase Parton. How you doing, brother?
Dude, I'm good. Saturday we had fights, of course. Obviously we got fights on Tuesday as well. So it was kind of a double whammy for the weeks that we have going forward. And, obviously last week as well. I'm really excited to talk about them. Not so much the first week of Contender Series, but I think that's going to be an interesting conversation to get into to start. So
For sure. Yeah. This most recent Contender Series kickoff was possibly the worst in the history of the Contender Series. But, a couple of little flecks of interesting things. So we'll get into all of that, of course. If you are new to the show, we're going over each and every fight from the events that I just listed out there. If you have something that you want to talk about that is not related to those fights that we're talking about at the time, throw it in the chat. We'll come back to it. Just remind us a little bit later on. But we got a lot to talk about here. So I'd say let's just jump right into 319. What do you think?
no, absolutely. We're actually going to jump into Contender Series first.
Oh, you want to do Contender Series first?
Yes,
We can do that.
we'll jump that first week because we have to bring up that our boy
Oh,
that
yeah.
we'll get into him making his little debut. But
All right. Well, let's
so
start off with that then.
yeah,
Sure.
start
Why
off.
not? All right. Yeah. So this is the first week of the Contender Series here, season 9, week 1. Started off with Chris Evert, or Evert, I believe is how you pronounce it. Chris Evert versus Yuri Pamfarov. This was a fight that I had a lot of people in the chat for because Mr. Evert is from Chile. A lot of Chileans were cheering him on. So shout out to all of my Chilean homies who were hanging out for that. Unfortunately, I thought Evert was just a little bit of a step behind Pamfarov. I was surprised that Pamfarov did not get a contract based on that performance. I thought that he did well enough that he warranted one, but it was a fairly competitive fight. Evert would kind of picked it up a little bit later on, but he was getting rocked a good amount at certain times. So back and forth.
Yeah, no, this one. Oh well, to start this season of Contender Series, this fight here. To think that Chris Ewert came in at minus 255 favorite and was absolutely dog water at fighting. Like he came in and genuinely didn't have anything for Yuri, and all Yuri did was have slightly better boxing than him. I think the reason that they didn't give a contract to Yuri is because we know damn well he gets smoked by everybody in the middleweight division when it comes to close to ranked. So and it's an excitement factor also. Dana, he wants to be wowed, and that he literally means he wants to jump out of his seat. And it's not just like that was good. Like no, it's not enough. Yuri definitely was my pick to win this fight. I thought coming in at a dog, I wanted him to finish, which obviously probably would have got him the contract. But since he didn't, still won as a dog. I think it was he could have probably got the contract, but Dana, again, he wants that wow factor. So,
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the place to have the wow factor more so than anywhere else. And, that's exactly what he's looking for. There was very little wow factor on this card, with a notable standout, of course. But yeah, Panfarov, I believe, is this was his second go around on the Contender Series. And it's always what we say about like that sort of situation. It's like, if you're coming back on the Contender Series, this is not the end of the road. This is the beginning of the road. So you really have to put it all out there up front to get yourself into the organization. And, any type of coasting is just not going to get you by. I thought he did well enough to win the fight for sure. I mean, it was quite clear that he was definitely winning things, but in order to get the contract, it's like you said, he's got to be more explosive than what he was, and that's the same note that's going to come up several times for some of these other fights.
Yeah, I mean, not too much more else to say other than Chris had no business being the favorite in this fight. I don't know how many fans he has in Chile, but he must have a damn good amount because they were ready to put money on him because he was the favorite here and did not deserve to be. So,
Well, and that's the contender series for you, right? I mean, favorites and dogs don't matter as much, I would say. I mean, there's definitely a level of it, like if there's somebody who's really pumping heat on the regional circuit or whatever. But like, this is the grand equalizer to show who is really worthy and who's not. So, you got basically guys who theoretically at least are all pumping heat on the regional.
right. No, yeah, I absolutely agree. But, contender series is that weird spot where you could have somebody who's 7-0 and they could be, potential is out the roof, but then you could also have someone 7-0 who is not going to make it very far at what they do. So,
Yeah, exactly. It's all about who they're fighting, where they're fighting, all of those factors. So, all right. So that was that one. Moving on to the next one here. This was George Mangos, even though he's always going to be Georgie Mangos to me because that's just the most gangster name. Georgie Mangos, go get the papers.
yeah,
Um,
facts.
George Mangos versus Radley De Silva. De Silva, Mr. Capoeira, did zero capoeira in this fight. Was very grindy. Mangos was. He's a grappler, wrestler guy so he wanted to do a lot of that. I guess De Silva wanted to prove that he was better at it, but that just ended up being a very like long BJJ match, basically, is what this felt like.
Yeah, this is one of those fights that was just one long round because the same thing happened every round. And I'll give it to you, like it was interesting to see Mangos do his little grappling and trying to get out of it and squirming all over the place. But at a certain point, did nobody teach him how to sprawl, like to actually stop the takedown? Like the getting out of the takedown. That is crucial to the game plan because every time you're on your mat, on your back on the mat. And I think what's also hilarious about this matchup, considering what we saw in the main event for Saturday, is this is a common winning method. You can land 5 strikes throughout a 3 round 15-minute bout and you can win a fight by unanimous decision. This is the problem right now. I'm glad, this dude won the fight, right? And then got in this post fight interview and was talking, really, really good about himself. Like, if I just beat the number one featherweight in Australia, does that make me the number one featherweight in Australia? And it's really funny that Dana looked at dead him in the face through the camera, whatever you want to say, wherever he's at, and said, you fucking suck. You're not good. And if you think that's what you do on Contender Series, you're wrong and you need to go back home. And I think what's also funny is like this is the dude that led to a speech of Dana saying, if you think this is how you perform on the Contender Series, cancel the plane ticket. Do not come. And I
Right.
think that is awesome. And that's what this dude deserved. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't mean to harp on it, but the dude was doing all kinds of spinny capoeira stuff in his promo package. I'm like, okay, maybe we're going to see something exciting here, something entertaining. Not a single lick of it. I mean, I'm talking zero. The 5 strikes, none of which were capoeira related.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, it's like, if you come in there with a flashy style, show the fucking flash off a little bit. I mean, like that would have been at least like in a fight like that where you are dealing with so much grappling on the other side, like that would have been the thing that could have set you apart is to be like the flashier guy. You negate all of that, you get a couple of cool little windmill kicks off or whatever. Like he just didn't do any of that.
I genuinely think that it's deeper for Dana that now because like you sold yourself as like this creative capoeira, the dance fighting style guy, and you come out and wrestle. He's got to be thinking like you tricked me. Like you literally didn't even attempt to do what the fun creativeness is. You just wanted to be boring and it actually won is what the craziest part is. So
Right.
starting the Contender Series off was not good with these first two ones. I'll tell
Yeah,
you that.
exactly. This was one back to back 2 fights. You're like, oh god, this is the contender series this year. That's not great.
It sucks too because I'm all at work telling people, man, Tuesdays, you guys got to be ready. Contender Series is what you're missing. The Ultimate Fighter, nobody cares about, but this right here, prime time, you need to tune in. And if anybody did and they watched these first 2 fights, they're gonna hate me. and I'm sure they do already.
Yeah, that is a funny note too. Like, coming into this, I love the Contender Series so much generally, not knowing how this was going to be. So I was in such a great mood. I was all, amped up. I'm like, yes, the Contender Series is starting. We got this. We got the Ultimate Fighter after this because it was, back to back for the last episode of the Ultimate Fighter. And thankfully, the Ultimate Fighter fight kind of did save it a little bit. And this one we'll talk about here now. But yeah, this was not a great start. So let's get into the only one that was really any major noteworthy fight of the first week of the Contender Series. This was Biesinger Chimaev versus Murtaza Talla. Biesinger, of course, came out and essentially just kicked Talla in the stomach, and that was about it.
Listen, no, we gotta talk. I gotta talk about it on the podcast. It's
Sure.
not even that he just landed a teep, right? It's not even. It was the lightest kick that you've ever seen in your life, and I have never seen a grown man scream at the top of his lungs like that. No, but dude, listen. You are a professional fighter. You have to be trained to get kicked in the body parts that are applicable to be like, obviously if you get kicked in the back or something, like, okay, maybe scream if it hits your spine, but like, dude, you got kicked in the stomach. Literally everybody gets kicked in the stomach, probably every single fight at this point. I don't get how just like, listen, everybody's like, let me kick you in the stomach, just, yeah, okay guys, I'm not a professional fighter. That's the difference. I would scream like that and you would think that's normal. But if he screams like that, you should not think that is normal. I'm just letting you know that dude got kicked in the stomach with probably one of the most harmless teeps that I've seen in a long time and fell to his knees screaming at the top of his lungs. It was
Well,
genuinely impressive.
yeah, and I mean, two notes here. One is that it wasn't even liver side. So like this was literally just a kick to the breadbasket that did that to him. So yeah, that should show you like, how not about this life this guy potentially is. That's number one. And you're talking about, taking shots to the body. It's funny. I'm actually at the point of editing our review of the Smashing Machine right now, and at a point in there, little preview for anybody who didn't see the live version of the review. But I talk about body conditioning because there's a portion where you'll see like one of the fighters has like this huge bruise on his side, basically a lot of redness on his side from getting hit in the body. And I talk about how like conditioning was different back then. Conditioning is very different now, so you have to condition now. So this guy should have been conditioned now.
It's crazy because like I have started to watch the one fights, and you guys know this. So Muay Thai, knees are very common. Kicks to the body, kicks to the stomach, knees, everything like that are very common. And these guys will tank through them because, in my mind, it makes me believe, oh, well, you can condition enough where like eventually you'll just start eating them and they can rack up, but like you just don't give a fuck. This dude clearly has never been kicked in the stomach before because to listen, if you are at home listening to this right now, if you've ever seen the cartoon Tom and Jerry, that is the dude. He screamed like Tom got the fucking anvil dropped on his tail or something, dude. It was crazy, hilarious. I
Yeah.
swear.
Well, so that is the case here. It was pretty much one and done with the kick there. What's up?
No, I would also like to note is so Sursakayev finished this fight, went into his post fight speech saying that he wanted to be on this Saturday's card, which was last Saturday, of course, and that was 4 days away. His wish was evidently granted because he did end up performing on Saturday's card. So we will talk about him again here in just a little bit, but it was a great performance. Although we knew this dude was after that, I mean, you can't believe that he fought top of the competition on Contender Series. Like, so there was definitely some doubt going into the next one, but we'll continue later.
For sure, yeah. So he did want to fight on 319. He is a training partner of Hamzat Chimaev. So, Hamzat in the main event, him on the undercard there. His wish was granted and made the quickest turnaround from Contender Series to fighting in the organization in history. So that is something to note, I guess.
The last thing to note is if you know ball, you would know that Hamzat holds the record for the quickest turnaround of finishes in UFC history, which it's somehow 5 days or something like that because they did a card on Wednesday or something. Whatever the I don't know if five is actually that's probably not right, but either way, Hamzat holds the record. Now his buddy jumps from Contender Series to the UFC in 4 days. I mean that's a pretty cool camp right there. They're breaking records, but it
Yeah,
is what it is.
absolutely. So good on him for getting the win there, and we'll talk about his fight at 319 in a minute. Let's move on to the next one on the contender series here. This was Ty Miller versus Jimmy Drago. This was an okay fight, I thought. Like it wasn't like if this was one of a number of banger fights on the contender series, it would have been like one of the lesser, but still an okay one. I think that Ty Miller ended up getting because he ended up with a contract, and I thought it was a little bit strange that he got it, but I think he got it because he is a huge, huge welterweight. Like this dude is very tall, very big.
I can tell you the short and sweet answer of why he got it is, well, probably unanimous decision. I mean, he definitely styled on this dude for 3 rounds, and any other person is probably going to drop to those punches. It's probably what they're presumably saying. But Dana White and his Latin Americans going to the PI, he loves it. I can tell you, you can watch any of the past performances. He loves sending them to the PI. He always gives them the speech. You know, the one to know, the Juliana, what's her name? The Ninja Ferret, excuse me. She's like, whatever, how super young or whatever. He was like, you know what, you're going to be in the UFC, but for now, go to the PI, and when you're ready, you'll be there. It's like, dude, you're not giving people contracts, but you are telling them like they're going to be there. And this guy got a contract, thankfully to him, because that was very favorable. Because I think it probably does have to do with 30-20. Like he definitely won every single round convincingly. The size probably has to do with it, but like he lived up to expectations. As a favorite, he came in and did what he was supposed to do. Maybe in another world, he drops him. There were some pretty good strikes.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it certainly was not one that I was like, oh man, definitely give him a contract. But I wasn't mad about it or anything. Like it wasn't like, oh, he certainly did not deserve it. I just didn't think he was going to get it. But I'm like DC when it comes to like my criteria here. Like I'm also like Dana with that. Like you show me like something spectacular. Like I want to be wowed as well. That's why I don't do any research on the contender series before I watch these fights, is so that I have the ability to come in completely fresh and be wowed. So
Yeah.
when I see a fight like that, that was like run of the mill, any organization, anytime, anywhere kind of fight that I was just like, okay, I mean, it's fine. Again, whatever, he can get in there. Maybe he'll do better, when he gets in there. But I don't know. I mean, the competition only gets steeper. Who
At
knows?
welterweight, especially. I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
for sure, exactly. So, whatever. Congratulations to Ty Miller. That was about it. Really, he did his thing, and
Probably has
then
something to do with his age too. I mean, you can always use
uh,
up and coming. I know. Sorry, I just wanted to add that line. Up
oh
and
yeah,
coming
yeah, no.
prospects to welterweight. Like other than with Pooley, what was the guy's name? Yuri at the
Oh,
beginning.
Panfrov, yeah.
He's like older. Ty Miller. At least it's like, okay, young welterweight. He's skinny. He could maybe even bulk up to middleweight eventually. That
Oh
shows.
yeah, I was just looking to see if they showed the age. They don't show it on this page. Do you know how old he is?
Oh, I can tell you in just 2 seconds. He is 25. So
25. All right. Yeah. So, definitely time to continue to grow and evolve and all that stuff.
nickname Thriller, by the way.
Thriller
Okay.
Miller makes
Yeah,
sense, I suppose.
it
Uh,
definitely wasn't a thriller, but
I'd
we'll
say
say,
didn't live up to it, but at least it rhymes.
yeah.
All right, and then for the featured bout of this, now they made a big point on the broadcast to say that this is not a main event. This is a featured bout because there is no main event on the Contender Series. Everybody's trying to get a contract. That is a good distinction to make here because this was possibly the worst featured bout of all time. This was a comical fight here. This is Ilian Buafia versus Nemius Santana.
I think I want to know who was crying about the distinction. Who was out there mad that we kept calling it a Contender Series main event? Like, because it's the top of the card, yo. Like it's the main event, like it's the end. But if people were really backstage, no, 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 it's a featured bout. Go on TV and you make sure everybody at home stops calling it a main. Like, who actually gave a shit? Like, I really would like to know that. But
Well,
yes,
I'm glad they said it for this though, because this does not deserve to be called a main event.
I would also like to agree that this was not a main event, but saying it before this matchup, it could have been a banger, and I still would have said the same thing. But either way, this matchup right here, one of the goofiest, because you have this 7 foot, not 7 foot, sorry, he's like 6'4", French guy, right? Yes, and we're thinking this dude's going to be a monster. Well, he comes in, goes to the mat immediately. I believe it was off of something goofy, like he threw a kick and slipped, I believe, and then he ends up on the bottom, and then Santana blatantly with 100% intention headbutts him. Okay, the match gets stopped. We're like, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? Get the ref in here. Make sure he's okay. Um, and somebody wanted to know, I forget who it was, but somebody was noting that somebody in the crowd, Dana said it, somebody in the crowd was yelling at Ilian to get up, and he eventually did. I don't know why Dana made that point, but it was really funny to note that he wasn't going to get up until probably his fucking brother or something in the crowd started yelling. But he gets up after the headbutt, puts on the worst performance that you've ever seen in your life. This fight ends up a 30-26 in his favor because Santana did end up losing a point with the headbutt. But what is absolutely insanity is that he won all the rounds after the headbutt, and and that's just insanity. I don't know what
Well,
happened
yeah.
here.
So, I mean, that all happened early on, and then like it shifted the whole dynamic of the fight because Buafia, the Frenchman here, was essentially scared to engage, is what it seemed like after that. I guess between the headbutt and feeling the power of Santana, he was trying to stay on the outside. He wasn't trying to engage, and so Santana is in there and he's showboating and he's yelling, he's pulling the Mike Breed and he's barking at him and all this, but doing nothing. So
Hmm.
it's like, dude, you are doing a whole lot of sound and fury signifying nothing over here. You're yelling and screaming with no action behind it. So it was this weird display. It was almost like surreal to watch the second two rounds of this fight. So yeah, Buafia ends up winning these rounds essentially off of inactivity from his opponent, but he wasn't very active himself. So this was a shit show of a fight, to be perfectly honest.
When Dana's doing his little speeches and he's got his paperwork and you see him flip the page and he goes, "Oh God, this guy," and it's just really funny to see. But then it's also like he had wrote down these notes to remember. It's like that Santana dude did absolutely nothing after he was showboating and doing everything and did nothing. And it's so funny to hear. This is the dude that oversees everything. Like this is the owner, whatever you want to say, the chairman, whatever you want to give him the title of. He is the man, and he is basically telling you, you are not it. You're not going to be in my promotion. Go back, and you're not even probably going to get another chance with the way that you came in here. The
Yeah.
fact that he didn't get disqualified was nuts. Even if the dude was able to continue, I just would like to say, like,
Oh, sure.
why
Yeah.
didn't you just get disqualified? That's crazy.
Right, with the blatantness of the headbutt, absolutely. But yeah, it's not only just that he's saying that you suck in the fight like this. He's telling you like get the fuck out of here. Like
Mhm.
he's like you like he's angry about it, and that like which is in contrast to watching Santana go in there and bark and like be hyped, and as they're reading off the scorecards, he's all proud of himself and all that. It's like, dude, I don't know where this overinflated sense of self came from after that performance where you quite clearly fouled your opponent, got lucky that the fight continued, and then lost the other rounds due to you just dancing on the outside doing your little interpretive dance shit. So like it was, yeah, this whole fight was very, very odd. It was a weird way to cap off a not great start to the Contender Series this year. And neither of them got contracts. So yeah, I mean, just to recap, the contract winners were Ty Miller, Bison Chimaev, and I believe
That's
that's
it.
it. Yeah, that was it. Just the two of them. So two contracts on this one. One more deserved than the other, and we move on to week two. Hopefully, better off than this week.
Yeah, we can definitely hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly. So there's your rundown of week one. We'll be back for week two, and like I said, hopefully it'll be a better affair going forward. But that's that. Let's move on to the meat and potatoes here. We had a pay-per-view or premium event. We're gonna have to start calling those. UFC 319 was Duplessis versus Chimaev. This took place at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, where you don't go unless you check in with Bilal Muhammad, if you're not aware. But I digress. A lot of cancellations on this card. We were supposed to get Rodrigo Ceznando versus Daniil Danchenko for the Ultimate Fighter finals at the welterweight division.
Yes.
Yes, welterweight they were fighting. We were supposed to get that fight. That fight got canceled. Brian Battle versus Nursultan Ruzaboev also got canceled because Brian Battle missed weight by 4 pounds. So a couple cancellations there, but otherwise, what did you think of this card, sir?
I think this card, I think we're gonna have to look back and really get into the nitty gritty of it before I give a full honest opinion on it. But I think looking back, this was a little brutal. This one wasn't my favorite pay per view
Mm.
premium event. This one was not something like, even going into it, there was a lot of hype. Like, people were really talking about this main event, and that's really what you talk about when you go into these ones. You can't talk. Sometimes you'll talk about the cards and like this is a pretty stacked card, but the main event is really what's driving home the entirety of it. And this was a really like questionable moment. Like, what's really going to happen in this main event? So I thought the idea of that carried this card, but at the end of it, we'll have to go through it because I think I'm still a little, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you on that. To your point, it was nice to hear people excited about a card. It feels like we've had a little dip in that for a couple of events where the hardcore fans are going to be excited about most of these cards regardless, but like the average person is not going to care as much. And I just a little while ago, shout out to my dude at the vape shop who asked, he knows that I'm a fight fan. We talk about fights very, very infrequently, but he knows that I'm into them. And he had asked me, "Oh, did you see the fights?" And he was talking about Hamzat and all that. So I was like, okay, this obviously got out a little bit past the average person. So that was something that I felt good about. We actually had some hype around this. A lot of people were asking in the watch-alongs for previous weeks, who do you think is going to win and this and that. So I appreciated that this generated interest and gave people something to look forward to. The card itself, I thought was pretty good overall. A couple little snags here and there, and yeah, we'll talk about the main event, obviously. So let's get into the fights themselves here. Starting off with,
Actually,
yeah,
before we
sure.
jump into it, I want to give a mention to the four people in attendance that were watching this card of ringside. We have Mark Kerr, Mark Coleman, Bass Rutten, and there was another one. I didn't know the last guy's name. I forget it at this point. But either way, I wanted to bring them up because in lieu of the Smashing Machine movie that is dropping in October, we got some commercials throughout the night that were giving more to what the movie is going to be about. And I would just like to tell you up front, the commercials basically are showing you the scenes from the documentary you've watched. And I think it's just going to be a retelling of that. Like, I don't think this is like a let's go to Mark Kerr and let's get like a more, in depth, him looking back at the story and let's get a recap of what he, kind of remembers. This is like, we're going to watch the documentary and we're just going to recreate every one of those scenes. Like, that's basically what it felt. Cause I saw like two or three where it was like, shot for shot. Like, you could see the dude's friend sitting there crying with him in the hospital bed, crazy. And then they actually brought up on commentary, they're like, I don't know if you guys saw, but The Rock looks just like Mark Kerr on there. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, we really all do live the same life. So
Yeah, no, I specifically, I've been doing my absolute best to stay away from anything related to the upcoming film, so I go in as fresh as possible. So when I saw that they were playing clips, I specifically diverted my attention to the chat.
plug your ears, close your eyes.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I kind of I cast my gaze elsewhere. But if that's the case, then we shall see. The documentary does have a good amount of meaty, weighty subject matter to get into, but since Mark Kerr is still around and with us, I would hope that there's going to be a little bit more context. And it's like we talked about on our review, which is going to be coming out soon, so keep an eye out on the channel. But we talk about it. We were saying that, like, there like, it doesn't, the documentary does not necessarily like have the same beats as a feature film, so there has to be some fleshing out, I would hope, but we will see. And I didn't realize that, I guess Emily Blunt is playing Dawn, his girlfriend, Mark Kerr's girlfriend at the time. I think that that's interesting casting. I know a little bit about Emily Blunt, and from what I understand, I guess she is a little bit difficult behind the scenes. So maybe she's going to be a good version of Dawn for the film.
Well, I would just like to say, if anybody has seen the movie that they've already been in together called The Jungle Cruise, or something like that, I didn't see it personally, but if you want a good indication of what this movie might be like, go watch that.
There
They
you
are
go.
definitely the main characters there. They're going to be the main characters in another one. Who is
Sure.
going to play Mark Coleman is still the question, and I
Oh
think
well,
they're
no, that
waiting for a big reveal.
no, you answered your own question with that, because the fourth person that was in the crowd with them was Ryan Bader, and Ryan Bader is playing Mark Coleman in the film.
Oh,
which is very strange. I talked about that in the review as well, where it's like it's very odd to me because Ryan Bader, also an MMA fighter, I did not know that he was an actor. Maybe he's not an actor and he's just acting now. Who knows? But yeah,
we
he's gonna be playing Mark Coleman.
we will bring it up now because I mean, maybe you have it in the notes to bring up later, but we should bring it up now. Now that we're talking about the movie things, Michael Venom Page. They said he's
Oh
going to
gosh.
be a director.
Writer director Michael Venom Page. Yeah, I cannot wait to see the stuff that he turns out. That'll be very interesting. We'll have to do some reviews of his fine work. Maybe
I
it'll be good. Who knows? It could be
See,
great.
and you kind of questioned me the other day when I was like, we're in the superstar era. Everybody has to be doing some. A film is like the everlasting thing to their name in this point in time. There's you either make a song or you make a movie. It's like those are the residuals that you need to add to your name. I think MVP he's on the right track. Will it be anything good? Will it be the next Rocky? I don't think so, but I would love to watch it and review it on the stream. Hopefully, you guys are excited.
Yeah, there you go. So keep an eye out for all of that. But all right, that all being said, let's talk some fights
Yes,
here. Starting this thing off was the other Ultimate Fighter final. This was for the Tough 33 flyweight Ultimate Fighter champion. This is Joseph Morales versus Alibi Idris. The first note before we get into even the fight itself was it was kind of shitty that DC wasn't in Alibi's corner for this when Chael Sonnen was in Joseph Morales' corner.
I thought the same thing. Like when they walked out, Chael was with him, and I'm like, wait, holy shit! Like, wait, Chael's okay. So Chael's gonna be ringside. I'm like, normally he's suited up in the booth. Like okay, so is DC gonna be in the corner? And everybody's yelling at me. They're like, he's commentating. How is he? I'm like, oh, I guess I am listening to him right now. Like
Right.
that is weird. And then the entirety of the time. Oh, and then when Alibi walks in, you just notice that he just has like a team of his guys now. Like it's just nobody from his like actual tough team, but funny enough, DC's on commentating and he can't really, he's obviously not coaching Alibi, but he has to play both sides in his commentary. So it's kind of shitty. But I honestly think that's the best move for DC in this case because rooting for Alibi was so fucking hard in this. I thought this dude was next. I thought this dude was
Yeah.
going to expose Joseph Morales for being a flare out and a fraud, but I have never seen anybody, and this is because I'm a little too new to the sport. Obviously you have to go back to times like fucking Horace Gracie where he's just pulling a triangle on people and it's working. I just don't get it where Alibi is just like putting his face in a triangle choke and losing the fight. Like it genuinely hurt my head
Oh
because that
yeah.
was crazy.
No, yeah, I had that in the notes. When was the last time you saw a standard triangle actually get the tap? That was yeah, but that's coming after an entire fight full of poor performance. I mean,
Yeah.
this was Alibi fought so poorly in this fight compared to how he fought on Tough. It was like stars and bars leagues worse. Like I was very very surprised by this performance from him. I mean, like he was doing all of these like spinning attacks and at first it's like, oh okay, he's trying to be flashy, that's cool, but then like the fight IQ just did not kick in to make him realize that you need to stop doing that, like especially also because Morales was fighting great. I mean, like this was like a now comparatively, being that he was not having that much competition come back at him, he probably looked a little bit better than he might have against somebody who was really going after it, but like Alibi was just making mistake after mistake, and Morales was just in there locked in, very in the zone and doing what he needed to do. Like this was a good performance from Joseph Morales and a terrible performance from Alibi.
I mean, I said Alibi. Honestly, I might give you another chance because you might have just faced Habib in that cage. Like this dude pulled like literally pulled a triangle from top position and got it and won the fight. Alibi put himself deeper into it. We actually saw a decent amount of good submission attempts in these first two fights. So I'll give Joseph Morales that he actually looked like a killer when it comes to grappling in this flyweight division. Alibi though. I had so much hope, and I literally was telling everybody that you are going to win. It's no doubt. You may not win later, but you should win now. And Joseph Morales, the veterans, and it is a little unfair. Like, out of all the people in the tough house, they give one person the redemption arc, like, okay, and then he happens to win. It's like maybe it did have something to do with the experience, but
Yeah, and
whatever.
you make a good point with that. Like, it's one thing when the entire season is people coming back for a second time around, but yeah, I mean, like all of these guys are fighting regional people, and they're working their way up. Like, they should all basically be on the Contender Series, but they're in on the tough, show. But like this dude they were literally saying while he was walking out that he had fought Davison Figueiredo at one
He
point. It's like,
literally lost to Figueredo, like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, yeah, you want to talk about experience. I mean, of course, yeah, that has to play a factor here. But yeah, Morales, I mean, locked in looking good. He almost had the finish in the first round at the very end there. He had the rear naked choke locked in like really nicely. He got saved by the horn, Alibi did.
yeah,
Um,
and his dumbass is like putting the thumbs up to the camera, like Alibi in the fucking choke. Like, dude, how
yeah,
about you worry about the choke? There's still 4 seconds left. Like,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, your thumbs up to the camera until your hands are limp by your sides. But yeah, Morales, just really nice pressure a lot of this fight. He kept pushing forward. Alibi tried to keep some distance with the teeps early on, but pushed through all of those. He had a nice backpack at one point. Morales ended up letting that go, but then he stayed with the control while Alibi was like rolling through, which I was like, that's veteran move right there. You want to talk about
Mhm.
the experience gap, like when Alibi was trying to like break free and like do like kind of a jerking, explosive motion to get the hands broken, Morales just stayed right with it, kept his hands on him, kept control. I was like, nice. Then that second round turns the striking up. Trio of body shots end up hurting Alibi, and that's when he went for the final spinning back fist. And I was like, "Bro, you are done for." That's when I knew. I was like, "No way!" Like, there's no there. That was a desperation move and the wrong one.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then Morales was just able to get him on the ground and got the triangle in there.
Make or miss league sometimes. You see this move work in the co-main event, but Alibi, it was not your day to have the spinning elbow work for you. You just threw it one too many times. And we saw that throughout your entirety of your tough run. That's literally one of your favorite moves to rely on is just spam spinning attacks until it doesn't work. And then when they shoot, throw a knee, which he did land on Joseph. And it was a good, clean knee, but Morales just took him down after it. So it didn't even matter. So
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, Joseph Morales, Jomo, as I was calling him, he's the ultimate fighter. So congratulations.
I genuinely didn't even think about it until I said it. Like, bro, that is such bullshit. Like, he literally won. He has been in the UFC already. He fought the champ of flyweight. Yeah, he got knocked out by him, but like, come on. And he wins too. Like, if he would have lost or came up, second place, like, I wouldn't have said shit about it. I wouldn't have cared. But it's the fact that he won. Like, are you fucking for real? Like, yeah, no wonder he fucking beat the dude who's never fought at the UFC level. Like, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, this could be one where Alibi will end up getting another shot at it. Like I always think about that now when it comes to tough. Like, who are the guys that are still going to get in the organization even if they don't win?
I tell you, Arishan Maman, he's gonna be in the UFC,
Well, there might be different reasons for that, but yeah. I mean, that he's not terrible though. I thought he was actually pretty decent. So
and he broke his hand. I mean, Nathan Fletcher, same deal, break his leg and
sure.
compete.
Yeah, so a couple of the guys might end up in it, and we still have to see who's going to win out of Rodrigo and Daniil. So
We actually
that
didn't even get to talk about that. We should talk about real quick that Daniil left a gunshot wound in Matt Dixon's head, which eventually ended the fight. So that was a pretty good performance. And then, yeah, I'm
sure.
excited to see the finale for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Although Daniil, he's my dark horse Ukrainian king who I've been rooting for on this show, but I was not super happy with some of those illegal strikes that he was landing because a couple of those back of the head shots were legitimately back of the head. So, rein that in a little bit, but he did do pretty good against Matt Dixon, and now he's going up against Rodrigo. So, we'll see when they actually reschedule that fight, but that will be the ultimate or the other Ultimate Fighter finale fight, and whoever wins that will be crowned the Ultimate Fighter, and then we can leave this season in the past.
Yeah, I'm sure this has happened before where the finals haven't happened on the same card, but I just feel like it's such a weird thing. It just sucks that we didn't wrap up tough in one night kind of deal. So,
Yeah, yeah, it is what it is with injuries and stuff, but
yeah.
we'll get there. They'll definitely do that fight, so just keep an eye out for it, and then you'll hear it that it'll be announced as the Ultimate Fighter finale, and you'll be like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
one of those
right.
kind of deals. So, all right, well, yeah, shout out to Joseph Morales, the Ultimate Fighter, and back in the UFC for a second stint.
Right.
All right, moving on here. Carini Silva versus Diani Barbosa. Now, I know that you had some opinions about this one, and so did I. Silva is a fighting nerd now, so maybe there's some more credence here, and we'll talk about another fighting nerd adjacent person a little bit later on, and some reasons why I'll be bringing that up. But just a note at the beginning of this thing, what did you think of this fight?
This fight was boring, super boring. It really sucked until maybe the third round, I think, is when it kind of turned up. But it was mostly the grappling that I found very fun. But the striking was absolutely atrocious from both of them. Unanimous decision is pretty nuts. I thought this was split decision at best, and I thought Dione. To be honest, I actually think Carini won. Like I thought it was 1-1, in the second. And I thought Carini won the second. So, in the third, I thought, mm, I don't know. Carini, she had some good submission attempts. The Gogo Plata, like she was fucking Nick Diaz, was pretty good. She almost actually pulled it off, which is the crazy part. It was decently like tight enough where it's like you had a thought like, wow, she actually could do it. But in my opinion, that's like one of those subs where it's like if you have just a moment of clarity, you can get out of it. Like it's
Right.
like okay, just okay, get the hand off my head. But she also went for another sub that was really good. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something really, really good. Maybe a ninja choke or
She,
something.
yeah, it was it was like a ninja choke, and then she turned it into an arm bar, but that was right at the very end of, I believe that was the first round. I want to
Yeah.
say, yeah. So yeah, there were a couple of like good attempts and good moments in this fight, but yeah, there was a lot of clinching going on. It was kind of like a skills demonstration that just wasn't like enough on either side to really like be like a wow factor in this kind of situation as well. But I mean, breaking it down just a little bit, it was slow. The first round was definitely slow. I mean, it was slow up until the last 40 seconds. Barbosa had the better striking, I thought, but eh. Then Barbosa gets a really clean takedown and goes to work with some nice grappling, nearly finishes Silva with the rear naked and started the armbar at the horn. That's what we were just talking about there. It was a sharp move, but it was just too late. Nothing that Silva was doing was working in the second round, but she was doing a lot. She was like going to the ground. She had no success there. She clinches up. She's not doing anything there. Back to the round and on top. Barbosa reverses. Silva's more active, but nothing to show for it. Nothing actually like made any kind of like advancement for her. But I'd say being generous, I gave her that second round because of the activity, because Barbosa didn't do anything of her own offensively. So 1-1 going into the third. If you want to look at it that way, which I think is probably the right way to look at it. Then in the third, Barbosa had a trip. Her takedowns were pretty sharp in this fight generally, but again, not too much with them. Silva nearly gets the guillotine in the third, but doesn't. Barbosa didn't really do too much to swing that third round. So UD 29-28 for Silva. Didn't really feel like she won one on the watch along. We were all kind of saying that that Barbosa got robbed. On the rewatch, I was like, I can see it, but I still think that Barbosa was like the better overall fighter in the fight. So whatever. I don't know. That's those are the notes. Take away what you will.
This fight never should have been on a pay per view. I could not tell you why this was on this card. And it was a rematch. Like they did compete against each other in the amateurs. Maybe they thought they would bring a little more fire to it. That they're competing for the spot in the UFC. Like who's the better man later on in life? But gosh, do I not give a shit. They could go for a trilogy, and it could be at the first fight on the Apex for all I care. So
Yeah, and shout out to the ever gambling homie E Money J, who was adamant that this was going to not go the distance. I was like, you got to
oh
be kidding me,
god,
bro.
no fucking
Yeah,
way.
that's I know. Yeah, I'm like this fight of all fights on a card that had so many finishes. This was the
Mhm.
fight that it was like, no, it's one of these girls is going to finish. Yeah, all right. Anyway, so that was that. Carini Silva gets the UD. As I said, didn't feel like she won that fight in the moment. I can kind of see it upon rewatch, but I was nonplussed, not
Yeah.
enthused. All right, moving on here. The other early prelim fight, Edson Barbosa versus Drakkar Close. Um, did you notice that Edson Barbosa had like some weird thing going on with his eye?
He's always had that. I
Is that
actually,
okay?
yeah, I mean, it's just like a lazy eye. I mean, I think
But
it's
it
just
looked worse than that, though. It looked like he had pink eye or something like that. It looked like he was like agitated on that one eye a little bit more than usual. Everybody in the chat was noticing it. I don't know if maybe that is just normal, but just wanted to point it out in case it was something more.
I think in most of the pictures I've always said like, something he looks like his eyes, just a little off there. And whatever it is, I actually think when you watch this fight, it actually becomes apparent that there might be something wrong with his eye because he just doesn't know how to pick up punches on the right side of his face anymore. And it's not even a joke. Like it genuinely is. Like you could DC at one point said, just stop throwing the left hand, just straight right down the pipe, just straight right. He's not picking up on it. And I don't know what it is about Barbosa and why he, you know, it's kind of interesting. You have like front runners who will have a good first round and then they slow down and they do nothing the next two. It's like Edson Barbosa has like a decent first round, shit second round, shit third round, but then he'll turn it up a little bit in the third at the end. And it's like, why aren't you doing any of this like gritty, hard nosed kind of fighting earlier? You're letting Drakkar Close like bully you. This dude did a cartwheel kick before the dude on Contender Series who's trained capoeira his whole life. Like, I don't know. It's nuts that Barbosa somehow loses the fights that on the feet too. Like Drakkar Close wrestles him and gets him down and controls him. Sure, I buy it. But
Mhm.
losing on the feet to Drakkar Close, like, are you kidding? Edson Barbosa, are you kidding me? That is just actually to note. I didn't even notice this was at lightweight, by the way. Edson normally is at 45, so I don't know why I didn't notice that he's going against Drakkar Close, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought that this was another pretty close one. I thought that this was closer to being a petty theft than the previous fight. I gave Edson the first and third, but I mean, the first round was very pointy. Just a lot of touches on both sides, kind of things. Kind of a feel out, but there was like more power on it than straight feel out. So I don't know. I mean, Close didn't really get much major offense off. Edson good with the kicks as he always is, but the more there really was not a lot of impactful damage on either side. So I did give Edson that first round. Um, I liked the close range shots for Close on the cage at the start of the second round, and I thought that he had a good resurgence. Close did in that second round, like decent power shots, great commitment to the old school foot stomp. That's one thing I do want to give him a shout out for. That dude was stomping away. Like I appreciate that. I mean, I think that more fighters should go for the old school foot stomp. It's a legal move, and I mean, it hurts. Why not? Why not do it? If you're in there, you're clinching up and it's going to be inactive and stalemate otherwise, stomp the feet a little bit. So he was committed to that foot stomp. I appreciated that. I felt like Close was like either holding back or just didn't have the will to throw in the third round. I mean, he did a little bit here and there, but like Barbosa does have crazy cardio for a 39-year-old guy. So he kept the consistency going. And then, yeah, the cartwheel kick was just a strange thing, an odd little cap off to a, kind of a lackluster fight. But yeah, 29-28 to Drakkar Close didn't feel right to me. I gave Edson that first and third and felt like it was a little bit of a petty theft.
Yeah. I don't agree that it was, petty theft. I thought split decision was what I was going into this thinking was possible. I thought Drakkar by split would have been better. But Barbosa really just didn't put up a fight that warranted winning any of the rounds that he didn't is what I would go ahead and say. He really just got beat up. His last couple performances, man, he just really just gets his ass whooped. Like golly. And it's not that he just loses the scoring. Like, dude, he wears damage bad. Like, he gets his eyes swollen, his nose busted, he's bleeding, he can't see. There's a lot of different things that go into the fights with him. And it's just, if you are somebody that is consistently wanting to win money on Edson Barbosa, you have to understand that he is not he is a tank when it comes to heart, but like his body wears that damage. You cannot be betting against him to win these rounds because as soon as he gets busted, that round is down the drain. So
Yeah, and I mean, look, 39 years old, even with good cardio, it's probably, the conversation is going to have to start happening at some point for him, especially with the losses creeping up more and more lately. He's, a long-time fighter. He's been in the organization for many, many years at this point, and he can still put on a competitive fight, but, time comes for us all kind of thing. So,
Mhm.
probably the conversation is going to be starting around Edson Barbosa sooner than later. Even though I did think that this was his fight to an extent, but I just felt that Close was just sluggish throughout this fight. That was my big note, is that like Jakar Close, he's not necessarily like the fastest guy to begin with, but like when the speed differential is like very noticeable because of how fast Edson still is, like it definitely felt like he was one step behind, even though the power was more on his side.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's just always how he's gonna be. Sad to say. I mean, he's one of these lightweights that they got a different type of style than the creativeness and the explosiveness of someone like, again, Yoel Alvarez, who obviously already beat him. And lightweight has a lot of killers, and Drakkar Close just feels like he's in an old man's kind of game for being, he's not too far into his career, but that's because he's not as active. And that's probably why he doesn't have like that quick step to his game, is because he's never really shaken the ring rust off. He's always battling it, and he's always got a lot of injuries going on.
It is true. Yeah, I was saying that the major detriment to Close is his inactivity. So hopefully he starts turning that around. I think that they were talking about that on commentary, saying that he wants to be more active now, and that's all well and good that you say that. So be consistent and be in there more often, and then we'll get a better impression, and maybe you'll have a little bit more. You'll be a little bit more at ease in there, so you
Yeah,
can kind of move a little bit more fluidly.
100%.
All right. Well, win for Drakkar Close is what it is. All right, moving on here. Chase Hooper versus Alexander Hernandez. Man, this was a tough one. We were both pulling for Chase Hooper, saying that this would be the nice fight for him to get a finish. Well, looks like Hernandez gets the last laugh on getting a finish here.
I feel bad for Chase because, we all love him. He is a fan favorite. But this fight, as much as I said on Monday, whatever I said about Chase getting a finish, I mean, sure, but this is the one fight that I came around to saying, I'm going to be wrong about this. I do not like Alexander Hernandez too much, but he is always, and I mean always, the person that is throwing the wrench in the parlays, and he knows how to win fights. And I thought he was going to be able to come around and win this fight by split decision. I thought this was my other split decision call. Did I think that he was going to knock Chase Hooper flat on his fucking ass with 2 seconds left in the round? No, I did not think that ever. I'm not going to say I respect the power of Hernandez, because I've even said plenty of times Chase Hooper's striking is not where it needed to be. There's just too many times where I've seen him lackadaisical. Even when he dropped Borishev, he was just throwing a shot out there that just happened to land. And, it surprised him. He was, holy shit. He needed to come out here with a little more confidence and, be more locked in. Like, bro, I know you're ready for the fight to go to the ground, and you're going to use your grappling, and that's where you're going to stand out, even if your striking is not there. But in this case, you should specifically understand that is the problem with that game style, because the ref can step in at any point. Because I do agree, it was a little early.
Mhm.
Chase was rolling. He was rolling through. He was going to be ready for the bell to end kind of deal. But
Right.
when you have the style of put my chin in there, if I get dropped, then we go to my game plan, the ref can stop that, and that's just unfortunate what happened here. So
Yeah. Well, I do think that Chase was trying to show off some striking. I think that maybe that was like his
always
strategy.
does.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a two-way street, right? I mean, this definitely proves it. He did start strong, I thought. I mean, he had some nice ranged kicks. Spinning back fist lands, oblique kick was there too. I was like, okay, the stand up is not looking terrible. And Hernandez was pretty slow to throw at first, so it gave Chase the ability to get some of those attacks off, even though Hernandez was like very active on his feet. He was moving around a whole lot. So Chase was having to actually pick the shots and time them well. So I was like, this is looking okay for Chase right now on the feet. Then he went for a single leg, but just abandoned it. And I was like, okay, maybe he definitely wants to stay on the feet, because why did you not commit to that when you had the single leg? Like, I mean, he had it in his hands, backed him up to the cage, and then just let it go. I was like, all right, so he definitely wants to stand, I would suppose, because that's the only reason why somebody who's a wrestler of his caliber would just abandon it outright. But he did that. Hooper was up on the strikes. The round felt pretty and I mean, not like close, but it was somewhat close as it neared the end. Because Hernandez was landing a couple of shots with some decent power. But it was like neck and neck ish. Like it was certainly competitive enough that the rest of the fight could have been competitive had it kept going. But then Hernandez lands with the power, counter right, drops Chase Hooper, goes down to his knees and takes a couple of follow-ups. And as you said, a little bit early, but I wasn't super mad about it because he did turtle up there for a second. So I do like kind of understand it. Like it was another one of those cases where if the ref had not stepped in and he had just been taking unanswered shots, people would have been like, why didn't you stop it? Why didn't you stop it? It's like,
Yeah,
damn if you
his
do.
first instinct definitely was to curl up in the ball,
Yeah.
and then the second was to roll through it. And it's unfortunate that that's the way that it happens. In those split moments, you're thinking I gotta defend myself. What's the best way? And unfortunately, defending yourself and the ref stepping in, those coincide. Those neck and neck right there. So it's unfortunate to see what happens to Chase Hooper and it sucks that I've been sitting here preaching. If Chase Hooper would have just watched last week's fights, he would understand that I have been preaching for him to just step up his game in the striking and not show it, not show off and come out here and strike with people that probably have the power to knock you out, but just like, tighten the game up to where you can lead the dance, be defensive enough to when then you can get to where you're good, the grappling. But like, you wanted to do this whole fucking you got dropped, dude. You got dropped, and it
Yeah,
sucks,
I
man.
think that part of the problem with Chase Hooper's striking is that he doesn't have enough power in his striking to command respect. Because that's something that I sort of noticed in this fight. I mean, now Hernandez, we were talking about how he's pretty durable, so it's like he's going to be able to weather like decent striking attacks. But like if Chase Hooper had that power in his hands to gain that respect, then maybe he would have had success later because Hernandez might not have been as in his face in close range to get the shots that he wanted and then land that really nice one. But like, he throws in decent volume and they're not the worst strikes, but they're just not the kind of strikes that like turn the head to the point where it's like, oh shoot, I need to adjust my strategy now to counteract what I'm getting from him. So, when you're not commanding that respect with your hands and your feet, the guy's going to be like, okay, well, I can take two more of that. I can take three more of those to go in there and get what I want. And that's pretty much what Hernandez did. Like Chase was reaching for a shot. Let that fly by my head. I can get out of the way of that. Boom, land what I need to land. Down he goes.
Yeah, this is unfortunately another case of a jujitsu nerd just getting what has coming to him when it comes to joining mixed martial arts. I love Chase, man, and he really can be good, but once again, and it's unfortunate that I'm going to say this after a loss because it just looks like I'm hating now and obviously pointing out the major flaw that we saw in this one instance. Work on the striking, man. The defense, tighten up the defense, dude. You got to take a shot. Yeah, you got to be able to take a shot. Yes. But like if you would have been in better position to take the shot, it would have been a different story. You were trying to evade too much chin in the air, and we know this is a proven method to get just dropped on your ass. Like I know it's very comfortable. You're tall. You think he's out of reach, but then boom, he's not. When that third punch comes, it's not about the 1-2. It's about him stepping with the two and then coming around with another shot. Like it always catches him. I don't know, man. It's just unfortunate, Chase. You gotta be more careful, dude. Jeez.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, still, it's like it's crazy to keep saying like, oh, he's still young, he still has time to improve. I mean, the guy is 16-4 now, 16-4-1. So it's like, the improvements need to start here. I mean,
Hmm.
the losses are still low enough that it's not going to be like major detriments, but you get knocked out. I mean, this starts to affect the physiology. Like, you're trending in a bad direction if this kind of or you're trending in a bad direction if these kind of notes keep coming out of us. So
Hmm.
like these are the things that need like quicker addressing than anything else. Like, address the major problems, and then you can always, like, you always can fall back on the things you're good at. That's the great part about being so skilled in the wrestling and grappling department, is that when things aren't going your way on the feet, as long as you don't get knocked out, you always have an opportunity on the ground. Like, as long as you can get the guy down, there's always going to be something for you down there. But like, you have to address the bigger problems first. It's like the when you're in the airplane, you got to put the mask on, you first before you can help others. Like, you need to make the first major addressing happen, and then you can figure out the rest of everything else.
Now, Chase, before we move on, I know Thinker said to fall back on what you're good at, but I want you to understand that we do not mean to just pull guard in your next matchup. Just do not do that. You have been very good, very active without going to fucking pull guard. So just don't do that, and I think you're going to be good, but tighten up the boxing defense, man.
Yeah, and don't necessarily go for calf slicers unless you're very, very confident you're going to finish it.
True.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, but on the other side, shout out to Alexander Hernandez. I don't think either of us thought he was going to be able to knock him out. So
Oh fuck! That money was probably good on somebody's pocket. That
yeah.
one guy who thought, yeah, he's gonna do it.
Oh
Just
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So he got the job done, and I mean, I think that this is just going to be a continuation of a very long checkerboard, career for Hernandez. It's the only thing that I see. I mean, unless he
and
starts.
Hooper.
Yeah, sad to say. But as far as Hernandez goes, like, unless he starts putting together like a legitimate win streak, I just think it's going to be back and forth and back and forth candy cane.
The good news, well, the good thing that you said right there is a legitimate win streak is because the wins that he's been racking up lately have all been a little scandalous by the
Right.
judging. This one right here, you have nothing to say. Yes, this is a win on the board right here. He knocked Chase Hooper out a little early, but saved by the bell in best case scenario. So
Sure. So there you go. All right. Next one up here is Jessica Andrade versus Lupi Godinez. I want to start this off by saying shout out to the chat from the watch along, because they set me straight. I was not paying as close attention to this fight as I should have been. I felt like after the fact that, like, going back and rewatching it, I recognize all of the things that I was not picking up on the first two rounds. So when I had said on the watch along that I thought that Andrade won, I was incorrect about that. This is why I always go back and rewatch these fights. So that being said, what do you think, Chase?
I mean, I think everybody in your chat needs to fucking take a chill pill because if you guys were seriously paying attention to this with the fucking microscopes out, this fight right here probably made you want to pull your teeth out as well. This is so boring from Jessica Andrade. Like, I don't know how either because she really just has the marauder style. She just walks in chin up and just throws punches. And like, genuinely, I do love to see it. Loopy, I love to see win, but I don't know. Something was off in this performance. Loopy looked very good on the feet, but something about shooting 14 takedowns on Jessica Andrade and only getting one is absolutely ridiculous. What happened to Loopy being a wrestler and now she's a striker who can't even, you know, one punch was all Loopy needed to do in this fight was to like earn respect that, Jessica just you can't walk in with your chin up. We watch it all the time. I'm trying to think of Jekka Sergey walks in with his chin up every fucking fight and gets dropped on his fucking face by everybody. I know these are women. I know it's different, but like Loopy, at one point you had to just step there and just give Andrade something to worry about, but you never did, and it was just a point strike, 3 rounds of it, and I'm happy you won, but like. Why couldn't you get Jessica Andrade down? Like that was absolutely nuts to me. This is the easiest in my mind before this fight. You get her down and you choke her out. That was it. That was it to it. Like it's like, bro, you don't stand with Jessica Andrade. She owns the record for the most female knockouts. Like, why would you do this? And shout out to her. She did and didn't get finished. But like, we get into this pride thing. It's like, why are you? Again, she shot 14 takedowns. So maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion, but like standing and striking with Jessica Andrade was a risky game. And shout out to her for winning, but I don't know. I was really hoping the grappling was going to get it done for me.
Well, I mean, I guess that is one of those risky gambles that, like, a lot of people seem to be comfortable taking nowadays, because I really do think this was another example of a fighter saying like, yeah, I'm known for being able to take everybody down, but I really wanted to show off my striking ability, and like against a former champion. So that does look good. I mean, and when you say it out like that and you get the win, but yeah, it's definitely risky. But all of that being said, this was not like a teeth pull out performance to me, because I mean, I thought that Lupi's boxing was pretty clean, and the first round was definitely good. I thought her combos were really nice. Jessica was just she was just a little bit too far out of range, which was strange, because it's not like Lupi is like way taller than her or anything. I mean, Jessica is that bulldog short kind of stout physique, but Lupi's not super tall. So it was just interesting that like Jessica was whiffing on a good amount of shots, while Lupi was getting hers off. I mean, Jessica landed a few in the first round towards the end. The takedown threat was definitely in her head, I thought. I think that also may have played a factor in all of this. But first round went to Lupi pretty easily. Good early pressure from Lupi in the second. Takedown was successful, and then some more sharp striking. So that was the one that she did get. Andrade was throwing with a lot of power, but not connecting until the third. Lupi was at the right range and with a steady and measured pace, I thought. So like all of these things are trending right for Lupi, and it wasn't until the third round that Andrade finally started to put the pieces together and land some of those power shots, opened Lupi's eye up a little bit there, but by then it was just too little too late. So I mean, this is like a half and half, not exactly a handshake agreement, but it's like if Lupi is at the right range and she's throwing with the right consistency and landing her combos, and Jessica is out of range, not landing her shots, this is what it is. This is what you get.
It sucks because again, Loopy is one of the people that I really want to root for, and she did look good in her striking, fine. She did not get the grappling, fine. But this is a performance that the organization is giving you because they want to make a name for you. Like they're giving you somebody who's they have the legacy. It's like beating Andrade is really good, but they want something better than that. They don't want you to just beat her. They can give anybody a performance that's just going to win. They wanted you to come out here and prove why you should be top of the division. You're going to take her down, you're going to choke her out, you're going to ground and pound, whatever you want to say. You were supposed to finish her and get her out of here. And that's what all the people who are facing these vets are supposed to do. You're supposed to get them out of their position. You're supposed to, eat or be eaten. And I think Loopy just did not, and she just does not have that killer instinct. She's just really a coast to decision kind of girl. And that's fair. She does win. She did win. And, shout out her. She's been in the UFC for hella, so whatever. So
Yeah, I mean, and that was going to be my counterpoint. Is it's like, yeah, whether or not they wanted to finish is kind of whatever, but at the same time, she did get a UD win over a former champion, so the mission was accomplished. If that's, we were talking last week about this being a nice feather in the cap for the record. It does accomplish that, at least. You look in the books, there's a W next to her name when it comes to this fight. So and again, I thought that it was nice to see that she does have some decent striking. I just don't know if the Jessica Andrade of now is, it's like comparatively to what, like compared to what she's going to be facing higher up in the divisions. If she tries to strike the same way against some of these other ladies up a little bit higher up, I don't know if the success is going to be the same way. So mission accomplished in the short term. Long-term strategy, we're going to have to see. And I mean, Lupi has had, a little bit of a checkerboard, not as bad as some, but, a couple of losses here and there.
I you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to break it down real quick. I know Loopy used to train with Diego, but then I believe she does not train with Diego anymore because Diego trained with Grasso. And then on commentary, I believe they said Loopy is actually training in Canada. So
Well, she is a Canadian citizen, so she's actually dual citizen, Canada and Mexico. And yeah, her actually, what I had said last week, where I was like, her sister's an Olympian. What I was referencing there, I went and found the details. She has three sisters. She is an MMA fighter, Loopy, of course, and then two of her sisters are both on the Canadian national wrestling team. So that's where
gotcha.
that pedigree comes from.
Well, the reason I bring it up, and I think it's, doesn't matter because I don't think they do train together, Grasso and Loopy, but I think Loopy took a page out of Grasso's book too heavily. She relied too heavy on the boxing. And again, she did win, but I'm just saying, going forward, don't rely on the boxing as heavy as you did. Hell, if 14 takedowns can't get it done, go for 20. We've seen it done before, and that wins a fight as well. So that's what you're going to need to do in the next situation. Don't just stop shooting because it's not working, because somebody's going to outbox you with what you got right now. And that's the unfortunate part, because they have been, and they will continue to do it, because that's just not what game's going to get you to the top, Loopy. It's going to be the grappling. You know, you gotta just power through it, be more relentless with the grappling. 14 takedowns, and I didn't really feel like you were hungry for it. I can't tell you I was watching and I was like, holy shit, Loopy is fucking trying to get this no, I didn't feel like that at all. Like, she could have been going for it. And I think she should have. So many people do. Like, we talk about the main event here in a little bit. Go for the takedown if that is your game. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. Yeah, that killer instinct needs to shine through a little bit more, and yeah, we'll see if that level of boxing is going to be able to hold up, but I would have my doubts.
Hell yeah.
All right. Next up was Gerald Mearshart versus Mikhail Olashechuk. So first, I wanted to start out by saying a couple episodes ago, you had asked me, we were talking about Rodolfo Vieira and his striking improving. And you'd asked me if training with the Fighting Nerds was the reason for that. And I said that I didn't know at the time if that was the key reason. But after watching Mikhail Olashechuk level up his striking, I think there might be some more credit to that than I might have been giving it credit for at the time. So, that I'm not saying it's 100%, but we have seen improvements from both Olashechuk and Vieira, both who are not core members of the Fighting Nerds team, still training with them and making improvements. So I wanted to put that out there. Second point, and I'll let you go
ahead.
is Gerald Mearshart fought terribly in this fight. So putting that out there, that yes, you're going to look a lot better striking when your opponent is dead bugging on his back constantly and not looking like he wants to be in the fight, period.
I think what I'm going to ride on, and even me, I'm not the biggest person to talk about Southpaw versus Orthodox, right? I think what is just key to note is before and I'm actually not even sure if Gerald is, Southpaw or Orthodox. If I can find that out while I talk about it real quick, I will. But before last fight with Cedric Dumas, Mikhail Olajaychuk, and shout out to FanDuel's fun facts, he was, in his last five fights against Orthodox opponents, he had knocked them all out in the first round. And going into this fight, if Gerald Mearshart is another person that's an Orthodox fighter, he actually is a southpaw. So maybe I'm a little wrong here, but I would just like to say they're giving him favorable matchups to knock out. That Mikhail Olajaychuk is somebody that is decent when it comes to his striking, and I think they maybe are playing a little onto the Nerds resurgence kind of deal, like, wow, the Nerds can bring him back kind of deal. So they're going to give him somebody like Gerald Mearshart, who we know fights like he's underwater. I don't know how we continuously forget that he is in a dream when he steps into that cage, because he has noodle arms and he doesn't know how to throw punches and he doesn't know how to get his hands like actually to where his face. It's ridiculously bad. And then you get somebody who's like mid-level journeyman at best, but does represent a region that we need people to represent in the sport. Give him a matchup where he's going to finish him. And that's exactly what he did. So shout out to Olashaychuk.
Well, I mean, I think that there's a little bit of your haterism of the Nerds still bubbling up beneath the surface with this assessment, but I'm not disagreeing. So I think that the credit goes to
Goes to the Nerds, guys. Shout out to a round of applause to the Fighting Nerds.
You got lucky with that pause. I want to try to readjust. I don't think that the credit goes 100% to Olashaychuk in this fight, as much as I do think that it was Mearshart really just not looking like he wanted to be there. I mean, see, the fight starts off. This is a 1-round fight. Starts off Mearshart just telegraphing the takedown attempts. He was like running from the other side of the octagon to get these takedowns, and then not fully even committing to them once he had his hands on him. So he backs Olashaychuk up to the cage. No takedown happens, and then he just instantly flops to his back. And this happened more than one time. It's like, bro, he's not going to go down there. He's not trying to play your game. So Gerald, we saw just recently with Fluffy Hernandez and Roman Dolidze, where Fluffy was telling Roman to get back up every time that he would take him down to the ground. No, we got Gerald Meerschaert basically doing that to himself. Now he's on the ground having to get himself back up, down, up, down, up, down. That wears yourself out pretty quickly, especially when you're an older, big slug of a guy like Gerald Meerschaert is. He's an older dude. So he's gassing himself out just by nature of how he's conducting himself. Then some very basic striking hurts Gerald, and he goes back to his back for a third time. Finally, Mikhail drops him legitimately, goes to the ground at that point. This was the time where he was like, okay, well, now I've got him actually hurt, so I can go down there. Follows him down because Gerald was rocked, finishes the job down there. So Mikhail makes some improvements to his striking, perhaps, but this was all GM3's. Like all of the negative aspects are on his side of the coin. And it hurts my feelings. I do like the guy, he's like one of those kind of like gritty old dudes, but like he just was not there in this fight. And if this is the level of competition that he has in him currently, that he should not be fighting, period.
I think what is most interesting about this fight is actually what happened before it, and it's on the commentary. They made a note that Mikhail Olajaychuk's brother is going to be on the Contender Series about weeks 5 or 6, is what I think they said it
Yeah,
was.
sometime in September. I did hear that as well. So good call there.
Yeah, he actually, I don't know how the contracts actually work for Contender Series, but the fighter, the roster update, roster tracker does add them to the roster. So it's probably just like a one fight TV deal kind of deal, because the brother was added to the roster like yesterday. So he's ready to go. They're ready to put him on. And is he a fighting nerd? We do not know. So
Interesting. Yes, I guess we will find out when his episode comes up here, when his week is upon us. But in the meantime, Mikhail Olashechuk gets himself back into the win column. He was coming off a win, I want to say. I don't
I want
remember,
to,
but
yes, Cedricus Dumas. Yeah.
oh, right. Yeah, the Dumas. So, yeah, I mean, they might be trying to keep him around with a couple of fights that are somewhat favorable based on what we're seeing here. Yeah, Dumas. I mean, Dumas looked absolutely terrible in that fight, too. So he's coming off of 2 fights where his opponents were really looking bad.
Hmm.
So it does not necessarily give me great confidence that if he goes up against somebody who's like going to be a killer, we've seen him against killers and we've seen what they've done to him. So he's leveling back off to stay around. The dude is 21-9, so it's like he's definitely been around for a long time. They're kind of keeping him afloat. He needs to rack up some like legitimate wins against hungry opponents who are a little bit more on the same competition range as him, like in the fight itself. Maybe then I'll start putting a little bit more faith in him. But right now, another win. Congratulations, I guess.
Give him Bo Nickel. Fuck it.
There you go. All right. We'll see if that might be something. There might be something to that. But we'll have to see what version of Bo comes back. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then it would be, how crazy would that be though if Bo comes back, and he's also like a broken man now after his loss, and Olashechuk just walks away with another easy win. But
Can't
anyway,
wait. I can't wait for it.
I digress on that. Either way, Olashechuk gets the win, so good on him. But we'll see what happens going forward.
Hell yeah.
All right, and your final prelim here. Yeah, before we get to this prelim, I do want to
Yes.
shout everybody out. Of course, TJF came in early. Appreciate you, my man. Toby coming in as well. Appreciate you. Rolling Stone, thank you very much for checking in. Appreciate you. And the God, Didgery Dave. Appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us in the chat. That being said, this is the fight that we referenced earlier. So our buddy Bisanger Susurkayev, who just fought on the Contender Series on the past Tuesday, came back 4 days later for this event. So this is Bisanger Susurkayev versus Eric Noland. Eric Noland was a Cage Fury champion. He was their welterweight champion. So Eric Noland coming in up a weight for this fight. Felt a little bit maybe unfair for that reason, him on short notice and up a weight to appease the Susurkayev guy. But I thought that Nolan fought pretty decently until he didn't. So I hope that this does not take Nolan out of the equation for coming back at some point, because I thought that Nolan put a good effort in for those factors being as they were.
I thought it was also a decent performance for Eric Nolan, but it was definitely Sursakayev wasn't taking it serious, and that's unfortunately a bad thing to see. That like, okay, he finally gets to the UFC, and like, yeah, he is having fun. Like you can tell it's him just kind of being loosey goosey and just having a good time, but like come on, let's take it serious. You're getting pieced up by a dude that you're trying not to take serious. It goes to the second round, which, I get short notice, contender series guys, we shouldn't be expecting much, but the expectations are high. This is a guy that Dana White knows is the guy to bring, whatever audience is coming with him. And he comes out here and he's goofing off in the first round. Now, I will say, to goof off and then to end up still winning the fight, not by a knockout, is very impressive because he's not even a submission guy, but he eventually just got the submission. And I thought, good for him. He knows when time has to come. Like, okay, I've been fucking around too much. Even if I can't get the knockout, I'm going to rip his head off. And that's,
But how
give it
much
to him.
was it that, or was it just that he got in the right position at the right time, kind of by nature of the fight going there?
How often does everybody get to the right position at the right time? I mean, and they get a submission? Not often. The right
Yeah,
position,
actually,
right time.
I do take it back though, because he was putting that work in, because it was the kick to the side of the knee that ended up hurting Nolan in the beginning of the second round that
True.
kind of
Yeah, the
started
leg
it off.
kicks were
Yeah.
cooking. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll give it to him on that. But I mean, I think I'm also being a little bit of a hater because you know how much I don't like showboating, and especially in a fight like all of what you just laid out is so exactly correct, because it's like, dude, you are just coming off of what we just discussed about the Contender Series, a guy who folded to the most basic of front kicks. So it's
Mhm.
like, if you just won off of a teep, we don't have any impression of you being a killer who should be in here joking around like this. You're taking this fight way, way too lightly. He's smiling out there, hand jiving, getting touched the fuck up by Eric
Mm.
Nolan. Nolan won that first round as far as I was concerned. I mean,
Right.
like,
No, he did.
yeah. So, I mean, crisp hands from Nolan in round one. So Sukayev gets a couple of takedowns, tossed Nolan around a bit, but that was about it. I liked how Nolan was fighting, and then the leg kicks were the start in the second round that kind of swung the tide. So I can't be too mad at him because he did make that happen. I'm just saying that, you got a guy who is a welterweight going up a weight on short notice, and that's how you take him. If you take any of the middleweights above that, actual middleweights in the organization who are seasoned, you take it.
Gutierrez.
That somebody in the chat actually had said that that's the matchup to make. I was like, that would be fantastic because yeah, Gautier would be fucking taking this dude's head off for real. So I mean, all I'm saying is, I don't appreciate that. Like, you have to earn that level of showboating to me. Like, the only person that I can think of off the top of my head who actually like earned it was Cody Garbrandt against Dominic Cruz, because he was cooking so hard in that fight. But like, even that sort of bothered me. So I don't know.
We'll talk about somebody later that has also earned, I think, the showboating to his game, and I think that's MVP, and we'll talk about him in a little
I'll
bit.
give you that one too. That's another good example. Yeah, I was just kind of going off quick,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, you're right there. I would agree with that. But my point in saying all of that is that it's like, there's a level that you have to be at with that to make it's, at least from the fan perspective, to be like, have us on your side with that. At least for me, how I look at fighting. So I was not liking the way he was conducting himself early in this fight, but got those kicks to the side of the knee, hit the nerve, all that kind of stuff. Ended up doing what he needed to do on the back, got the rear naked. So congratulations to Sukayev. He did the damn thing.
Yeah, I would like to see how active he plans to actually be. That would be really cool. And if for some reason this is going to be the catalyst that makes Hamzat become an active champion, I would love for him to just continue tag teaming the cards. For a while, Diego Lopez and Alex Pereira, they were on cards for a good amount of time together. We had a good little stretch with them. So I'd like to see some buddy pal stuff here with them. So Chechnya, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully something's going to keep our new champion active, but we'll talk about that. Yeah, but look, easy feed, I would say, for Hamzat's little buddy here. I really do hope that Eric Nolan is able to get another shot, because I do think that under the right circumstances that he looked like he could be dangerous. Get him a full camp down at his actual weight class. He is a champion, in a regional organization, so there's precedent for that. I would like to see Eric Nolan come back. We see some of these guys who come in like I don't know. There needs to be like a name for those kind of guys, like the walrus guy, and
Jobbers.
yeah, I guess Jobbers is kind of like sort of that. But like, there are a couple of them that you want to evolve past that. So yeah, maybe Jobbers is sort of accurate, but like, he would be one of them that I was like, man, he should get another shot at being a little bit more than that.
See, but the problem is with somebody like Eric Nolan, when you look at his record, it's like, yeah, he should get one more shot. Like, there's no reason to sign a multiple fight deal contract, because if he loses that first one, all right, he's 8-5. Like, and then
Eh,
what?
all right. I didn't realize all that. Fair, but yeah, I give at least give him that one more. Is all I'm saying. Give him
Yeah,
the one more to give him the shot on a clean slate. Like I said, natural, not natural weight, but his native weight class and with a full camp. At least give him that, and then if he loses that, then yeah, goodbye.
yeah. 100%. And he's just going to end up being another Mark Choinsky, or
Right.
any of these other guys that have a chin and somehow show promise in 2 minutes that they have. So
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see about that. Hopefully he gets that shot. But when it was just on the Contender Series, I coined the nickname for Susakayev. I was calling him M Bisinger. Like M Bison from Street Fighter, and I like that nickname. But now I don't know if I want to call him that because I don't know if I like him so much.
Sursakayev's a pretty. I think that has some aura to it. And then when he has his sunglasses on, he's got some aura.
Yeah, well, and I mean, speaking of war, I don't want to dwell too much on this any longer. But did you hear about the whole thing with the watch?
Oh my god.
What? Yeah. So I mean, I didn't. I guess he was wearing like a really expensive watch. That's the whole
That's
deal.
literally all it was, and people were like, "Holy shit, he got more expensive watch on the Trachis to Plessis." Yeah, I don't care.
Like, all right. Yeah. I mean, I guess it is questionable how he has all that money, but who knows? Maybe he's a crypto investor or something.
Yeah, but like watches, man, collecting watches. What?
I know. Yeah. It's fucking throwing money out the window. But anyway. All right. So, yeah, congratulations to Sarkayev. We'll see him back, obviously, and see what he can do against some, more legitimate competition.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, starting off main card here. This was one that I was very happy about in the end, but man, this was a weird fight to watch. This was Kai Asakura versus Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott saw Dricus on this card and said, "You think that shit's awkward? Watch what I can do." And he put on the most awkward performance. This dude's style is, we've talked about awkward styles. I guess Tim Elliott just kind of flew under the radar for everybody, but I don't think that I've ever seen anybody quite as awkward as Tim Elliott. He's on another plane of existence.
And I'm not trying to sit here and disagree with you, because Tim Elliott does have a style that is awkward, and it's unorthodox is what I would actually classify it as. But in this performance, I would say this was the least. Uh, I'm trying to think. I mean, he was putting on his Dom Cruz impersonation for this fight. That's all that I saw in this. It wasn't like an original Tim Elliott. Like, he was literally just trying to do the Dom Cruz little in and out, the shuffle. Like, that's all he was doing in this. And
Nah. No, I don't
and
think so, man. I mean, not with the he holds his hands out there down like this, like where he's like he looks like an old. I said that he looks
did
like an
Dom
old.
Cruz block his face?
I mean, not like that though, man. Not with the hands down like I mean, he looked like an old man who was like, you ever see an old man who's like trying to like say he'll fight you? That's what he was. Yeah, like a little bit of that, but then also just down here too. Like it was just like this weird. I don't like
Eh,
I've never seen
eh,
anything quite like it.
I mean,
Even Dom Cruz does like with not like this.
okay, sure. Maybe I'm just the OG here who remembers a Dom Cruz performance. But either way, this one was great by Tim Elliott. I think this was unfortunately the most disappointing thing that I've seen from Kai Asakura, because I had a lot of hope. I really did. I thought he was going to shock the world and show that Pantoja is just that good. But unfortunately, Tim Elliott's just that good. He can just, and the performance from Tim Elliott, when you get to a certain point and you are labeled as the unpredictable kind of fighter, you can just go in there and do whatever you want, and then people will look at it as like some mastermind move, like, holy shit, look how he's doing some craziness, because we don't know what he's going to do next. But literally, Kai Sakura, it was inevitable that he was going to get taken down and submitted. It was just Tim Elliott fucking around with him, letting him like do. He was just leading the dance, waiting for Kai to throw that strike that was going to get him taken down, and that's all this ended up being. Tim Elliott, having fun out there. He hasn't been in the cage in a really long time. He came in with a fresh new cut, fresh new beard, looked like $1,000,000. And then, like I said, put on his best Dom Cruz performance, and it was a really good winning performance. Like I thought this was really good, and it definitely shocked me. Um, I'm still gonna fade Tim Elliott in the next one, but I would like to see him against other prospects. Thankfully, he never went up against Josh Van, is what I will say. But he I, I don't know. People really, and I think you are one of them at this point. Like, you really think that this was anything more than Dom Cruz submitting somebody? I don't know. That was basically all I saw.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Dom
dude.
Cruz would have landed more punches. Let me say that.
Yeah,
I'll
I
say
mean,
that.
like, Dom Cruz is like a way more technical striker than Elliott too. I mean, like that's kind of his game. Elliott was landing. I mean, like that one shot that Elliott landed where he had his hands low and he just kind of went like up and over, like he landed. I was like, what the hell? Like I'm telling you, he was coming from such odd angles. It's like I think that's really more of the story here is that Asakura was landing a couple of solid shots, but the strangeness it was not even that it was unorthodox. It was flat out strange. But the strangeness of Tim Elliott's movements, his weird stance, his laterals, all of that was making it hard for Asakura to find his range and rhythm. And when you are a supposedly elite striker, having those things down and being comfortable with them is what you need early in the fight so that you can get into a pattern of landing shots and then gradually upping your output and your power. So Elliott just being weird made that not happen for him early on in this fight for Asakura. Then Elliott turns a head kick into a great solid takedown, and he landed a couple of singles off of that. I'd say that his weird style is deceptive. That's the thing, is that it's like somebody looking at it from the outside is like, what is this guy doing? But he has a game plan within all of that weirdness, and it ends up working out for him, even though Asakura did win the first round. So, I mean, the fact that Tim Elliott literally barrel rolled into the second round, like, come on, man, with that is Dom Cruz. Nobody's going to do in that shit.
I think you're thinking that he played like some crazy violin in this matchup. He has a game where he is so well rounded, where then yes, he can do whatever he wants. He can look as goofy as he can. He can just have a little showmanship. He can do his little old man, whatever you want to say. It's not some crazy chess match that he's doing. It is just him doing what he wants, because when whatever opening opens, he is able to take advantage of it because he has the ability in every facets of the game. And when you are somebody who has been around that long and takes the game that serious, you can have moments like that. And against somebody who's inexperienced at the top of this level, you know, it is what it is. Kai Sakura was the one who really let us down here. Tim Elliott goes out here and gets finished by somebody who's actually a good prospect, and he looks like the idiot that he is for dancing around in the ring. But, it is what it is.
Well, I mean, look, I think we're both saying the same thing in different ways, kind of, because I think that if you have a style that is as weird as Tim Elliott's and you can find the openings, then you get the openings. And yeah, it is a little bit risky against somebody who's going to be a little bit more technical and be able to push through all of that. But Asakura wasn't that. So a win's a win's a win over here. And the submission was nice. I mean, like, you got to keep that in mind too. Like the takedown it was actually two of them. Tim gets one takedown, Asakura gets back up, then Tim gets a second takedown with like a really nice up and over double leg. Like he really like showed that Asakura does not have ground game at all, and that's a big glaring hole in this guy's game. Especially at flyweight where there are such good grapplers. Like, you're going to get taken down, brother. You got to be able to figure that out. But he couldn't do it. So Asakura leaves his neck open. Tim snatches for the mounted guillotine, so quick and effective. Right before the end of the round, Tim gets that tap. That's what you're going to get out of a veteran like Tim Elliott. And that's what you're going to get out of most of the flyweight division. So Asakura, whether or not you had success in Ryzen, bro, UFC is a whole different beast over here. And your mixed martial arts are not mixed enough.
Yep, I 100% agree. I thought Kai was going to shock the world, and he did not.
Yeah, and he definitely killed a lot of parlays, as the homie Toby is saying here. Yeah, that was a note I was seeing going around a lot of places online. A lot of parlays ruined on this one, understandably so. Last note that I would have about it is just that on the human level, Tim Elliott is a great dude. He's just a really, really solid, good person. I'm very glad that he got this win. I was very glad to hear that he got custody of his daughter. I don't want to go into all of his personal life stuff, but if you know the story behind all of that, you'll know that he went through some really bad personal relationship stuff. So I'm glad he's in a better place now. Tim Elliott is one of the good guys. He's saying, even when I lose, I win because I'm doing what I love. I was like, man, prayer hands up to Tim Elliott, because he is just a solid human being, and I'm always happy to see him win.
Yeah, hell yeah, that is pretty poetic. I like that.
True. All right. Well, farther on down the main card here, Jared Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page. I I don't think we could have predicted a fight more accurately if we tried. I think that exactly what we said was going to happen happened to a T in this fight. The only major glaring note is that MVP has nothing off of his back. And yet another one, we literally just talked about it. And with Asakura, it's like if you cannot get back up, brother, this game is going to be very difficult for you, even if you are MVP level of striking.
Yeah, but luckily for MVP that he can win 2 rounds against just about anybody right now.
Yeah,
So
that's the other side of the coin. You make a good point.
yeah, so if he gets 5, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. But where he's at in his career, and I think actually it might be some sort of good maneuverability on MVP's part. He's keeping the door open for 70. Therefore, he's not going to climb high enough in either one of those divisions to be a 5 round fighting kind of guy. Therefore, I can just keep racking up easy 2 round wins, because I'm just going to point strike, take the first round where they're going to be trying to feel me out, but I'm already in the zone. I'm already left, right, up and about. Win round 1, round 2 comes and he's, doing his thing still. And then the other person finally gets going, but it's way too late. And then if they get the takedown in the third, he can just stall it out. He's won the first 2 rounds. It's not a perfect game plan, but MVP is somebody that we know what we're going to get out of him at this point. He's going to come in here. He's going to do the point striking. He's going to showboat. He's going to have a good time. He's going to make your favorite fighter frustrated. And it's going to really show what they're about. Like Jared's actually a very composed fighter. Like Kevin Holland got frustrated very easily in the matchup with MVP. Jared got dropped. They didn't even give him one, but he got dropped twice, if you want to call it. The second one was more of a shove down, but he got dropped and didn't lose confidence. He knew that eventually I'm going to get a hold of him, and then we're going to go to the ground, and then it's going to be ugly. But MVP, massive for welterweight, massive for middleweight, fast as ever. Demoralizing is really what he can do to your favorite guy. He's just really has a certain skill set. I mean, guys, this dude might be Liam Neeson from Taken. He has a certain skill set and he can do certain things at certain time. I don't know what the quote is or something like that, but MVP is that. Like, geez. So
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. It's a little frustrating to watch sometimes, I would say, but not unexpected. He did get the knockdown in the first after a ton of dancing on the outside, and I mean, he's continued to dance thereafter. Jared clinched up through the second there, through the rest of the second or the rest of the first and the second rather. He just needed to actually get the takedown, which was the big hole in the game. I mean, if he wasn't going to be able to strike, if MVP was going to be too fast as we suspected he was going to be, then he needed to get his hands on him and get him actually full on down. Because yet another a good point from Toby here saying that Jared didn't actually get the takedown in the third. It was an overreach from MVP. MVP slipped on a shot that he was reaching too far for, and Jared just ended up capitalizing on it. Had that not happened, then this could have been 3 rounds of the exact same thing. And then that would have made Jared look even, kind of more foolish than he was already looking, in the fact that he just couldn't do what he needed to do against an easily understood game plan. We all know MVP at this point.
easily understood game plan. That's easier said than done. This is somebody who has trained his entire life, and I know point striking is nice, not something that we look at as something so great to train early on in your upbringing in this sport, and it's also something that we talk about in bad terms when it comes to the sport. It's like point fighting is not good when you're somebody who is just trying to play the scoreboard, but MVP is different when it comes to what point striking is. He's somebody that at the end of the day knows how to hit you without being hit, and he can do that expertly. And yeah, you can say it's an easy game plan to think about. It's like, yeah, he's just going to strike and move around a lot, but like he's genuinely more harder to track down than all of the elusive fighters that you see and you call, running or, passive or elusive. He genuinely is elusive enough to the point, but he's still sticking you at the end of those strikes. Like he's not evading outwards too much. It's left and right to get the shot off. And I think it's something that's really hard to train for because it's the wonder boy, but it's also there's another level to it because he's not, it's not the kicking that he's also like mastering. He's a very punch heavy version of Wonder Boy, and you can even see it with everybody who's faced him. It's hard to track down his punches when they come from just kind of like a stabbing point of view. So it,
Yeah,
you know,
no, I mean, I get all of that. I just think that if Jared was able to clinch him, then he needed to just be able to finish the takedowns. That's what I'm saying here, because he did get him clinched up a number of times.
Ian
Like,
Gary got this dude down to the ground, so
so
it's not
there,
really the hardest task. I get you, but
that's my point exactly. And this, a lot of people were saying shout out to Ian Gary for being able to do, what Jared couldn't here. And actually, it was kind of funny. A bunch of Ian Gary's victims on this card. But that all being said, this was another one of those fights, that like with Jared, it's like there are certain fights that he will be able to win with the skill set and the dynamics that he currently has. This was not one of them. And it kind of was telegraphed from a mile away. So, we called it correctly going into it. It went exactly as according to what we thought was going to happen. And that's just kind of what it is at the end of the day. So, good win for MVP. Not the most exciting fight because of it. A lot of point fighting in that, aside from the drop, there was really just the exactly what you outlined, a lot of outside point fighting and then a lot of control on the ground for Jared in the third round that was not going anywhere. He couldn't capitalize on that position when he had it. There was no submission to be found for him. So, oh well. I mean, this is exactly what you were going to get out of a fight like this. And I mean, hate to be right as a Jared Cannonier fan, but I put MVP on the parlay and that hit. So
I want to glaze myself for a second because I think MVP is pretty damn good right about now. I mean, the people that he's racked up wins against, and yeah, he's not finishing them, but he's making an entertaining striking performance that he wins unanimously with, and that's impressive enough. But I would just like to say that me saying that I believed Ian Gary was an elite skill set for what we see in the game, and he was able to do anything that nobody else can to Michael Venom Page. I mean, genuinely a specimen. Shout out Ian Gary.
sure. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I've always said that Ian Gary is and I'm certainly coming around to like not wondering anymore about like him being that elite. I've always thought he takes the game very seriously, and all of his dumb stuff outside of the cage is just that. It doesn't have any bearing on what he does inside of the cage. So yeah, I think you're definitely right. So yeah, shout out you, Chase. You
Hell
deserve
yeah.
it. Pat yourself on the back there, pal. Yeah, so good win for MVP, and that's really about it for this fight. I mean, I don't really
Yeah.
even have too many notes for it because there's not too much to talk about.
Nope.
All right, well then moving on. Jeff Neal versus Carlos Prates. This was a nice return to form for Prates after the aforementioned Ian Gary fight, where he did not look like himself, in my opinion. Looked like he was like scaling for late game in that fight, and it did not go according to plan. But he got a nice early start to this one, came out aggressive, and it worked out very well in his favor against the Jeff Neal. Another one that we called pretty much exactly correctly here, except for the
Yeah.
finish, who I don't think anybody could have called.
Yeah, the finish. Well, I don't think I called this one down to a T because I really thought Jeff Neal was gonna be a tank like he normally is. And everybody even said it after this. Nobody has ever done that to Jeff Neal. Nobody's ever made him look like that. So should we be surprised? Yes. Should we be surprised that Carlos Prates is that killer? No. This guy, if anybody is gonna make Jeff Neal look like that, I will 100% accept that it is Carlos Prates. It is not like fucking Mike Mallet came out here and flatlined Jeff Neal. Now, genuinely, that would be something to be in awe about. That would be something to fucking like cry over. But like Carlos Prates knocks out somebody that you really like, you just got to chalk it up to that's good sports. That's good sports, good competition. If your favorite guy who is known for never getting flatlined gets flatlined by somebody like Carlos Prates, you have no reason to be upset. This dude, that's what he does. And his record may not show it. I know I talk about a lot of people's records. 22-7 is not something to glaze, but like when you watch this guy, I mean, prime time premium events right here, guys. So, oh my gosh, great.
Carlos Prates translates Muay Thai so nicely into MMA because he combines the fundamentals of that art form with great movement and takedown defense. And this, like, because we've talked in the past about like why there aren't more straight Muay Thai fighters in MMA, why the one championship guys are staying over in one and why there's not as much crossover in this and that. This should be your like paramount person to that you should hold up in high esteem as what you can accomplish with Muay Thai if you mix it in properly with the other martial arts and with the fundamentals of MMA on top of Muay Thai base, because everything that he does just and also granted he does have the exact right build for it as well. Got super long legs, got long limbs in general, very tall, very stocky. He's like praying mantis kind of situation with him, like easily getting his strikes off because of the dynamics of his body, but that doesn't always have to just be that. Like it's really comes down to the fundamentals that he brings to the table, and like it's a well-rounded package that you get when you have a guy like Prates who can do all of what he does as effectively as he does. So, in this fight, he starts off with some nice kicks, good pressure from Neal, without a lot of output to justify the pressure, which that's more of what I was talking about leading into this, where it was kind of what I was expecting. Jeff Neal is just a bit one-dimensional, and it certainly showed in this fight, even without the finish being aside from all of that. It's just, Jeff Neal is a pressure fighter who's going to want to grind out the affair rather than be like strike heavy and powerful, and that is something that can be overcome by a skill set like what Carlos Prates brings to the table. So I think that this went exactly as it should have. The spinning elbow right before the horn was what was unexpected to me, and to put him out with that was very impressive because he landed it in the exact right spot. Like if the spot where he landed it was like right on the skull where like the skin is sort of thin, where the bone protrudes on the skull there. And like generally that shot will take your equilibrium out. Like that's the one that'll like get you on skates. That'll have you wobbling, but he was at the right range and he was with the right amount of power on the shot. So it put Neal out altogether, and Jeff Neal suffers his first knockout because of it.
Yeah, no, this was definitely something insane. Right at the buzzer, this was actually the card for late finishes. For some odd reason, we had three, I think. Well, the next one wasn't actually at the buzzer, but we had two specifically that were right at the buzzer, and just shout out just everybody who's doing a great job getting finishes, because I'd love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple buzzer beaters are always fun. And, we'll talk about the next one coming up here, but there are only 10 spinning elbow finishes in UFC history currently. And we saw two on this card. So that's pretty cool.
So everybody out there at home working on your spinning elbows, let you know there are 40 more spots to go in the top 50 spinning elbow finishes of all time. So make sure you keep working on it. Don't be like Alibia Dearest and keeps throwing them and throwing them. Be more like Shara Magomedov, where you throw two in one fight that gets a knockout. But hey.
Yeah, exactly. Be conscious of your spinning attacks and throw at appropriate times, and good
Yeah.
things can happen. So yeah, the only other note that I have for this one was that Prates asks for the 50K bonus. He asks for a fight in Rio, and he gets both of those things on the spot. So that was kind of interesting. And then he also was using his time on the mic to advocate for one of his training partners to get his shot in the UFC. Don't have any update on if that's going to happen or not, but if the guy's good enough, I'm sure that will happen. But cool to asking ye shall receive 50K and a fight in Rio coming up for Carlos Prates.
And a post-fight cigarette.
And a post-fight cigarette in the building
Yep.
during the Q&A afterwards.
I'm actually a big fan of this because Carlos Prates is like an 80s superstar. Like he just smokes in the building and just ashes on the floor. I mean, like can we go back to an era where this is okay? Like, I mean, people are getting too worried about secondhand smoke. Carlos Prates, like, dude, just get over it. Grow up. Like, come on. Come on.
Again, I always bring it back to the same point, is that when you're doing what this guy does in there, the rules don't apply. So
Who's going to tell him to put that shit out?
Correct. Because I remember also there was that one, I forget which event it was. It was a couple back. I think it was on another pay-per-view where it was a shot of him in the crowd. They do the shots of everybody in the crowd or wherever. They cut to him and he just lights up right there in the arena. Like, bro, come on, man. But when you're a superstar, is what it is.
It's funny too, because when you think about that one, now that you know that smoking cigarettes is like his thing, they're probably like, all right, hold on, we're going to get the shot. Wait, don't light it. Do not light that yet. We're going to get it. 3, 2, now go. Now
do you think that the cigarette light up could be the new shoey?
Yeah, I do think That is his thing. That's why I'm saying, like, he's kind of like, like smoking the cigar kind of thing.
Sure.
I like it.
Well, if he's doing what Tai Tuivasa could not do, then maybe you'll see a bunch more people smoking cigs in the crowd.
Because, like, there's just something to a like, there's just something to having that. Like, whenever he's in his post fight, and you can hear that he's just getting all of that smoke break out of him that he's been waiting at that whole 4 minutes and 59 seconds.
Right.
That is all that he got out of that puff. That
Yeah, I
love it.
mean, look, there's a reason that it looks cool in the movies, man. I mean, it just kind of looks cool. I don't know what to tell you. It might be terrible for you, but it does look cool.
If the UFC was genuinely smart, which they are, they would find out what cigarette pack this dude smokes and get the sponsorship on the fucking, like, I know, and
Yeah.
I know we are in an era where promoting cigarettes is like not what we do. Like, we don't really have commercials about cigarettes and shit no more. So would a sponsorship on the ring be a little out there for these times? Yeah, but the UFC does what they want. Like, so put the Marlboro shit on there. I don't care. NASCAR still does it, I think. Like, fuck it. So
I don't know. There might be laws against that. Whatever. I don't know. Either way, but I do like it though. I do think.
laws, schmaws,
Yeah,
dude.
exactly. $7.7 billion says laws don't apply, right?
Fuck yeah. Like, jeez.
All right. Well, either way,
Yeah.
nice knockout, nice spinning elbow knockout for Carlos Prates. Back in the win column and back to being the fighting nerds killer that he was before the Ian Gary fight. So we're gonna have to see. That's an interesting point to it too. Is like, what does the trajectory look like now that he did go up against more elite competition, did not fare so well against that, beats Jeff Neal, who is still somewhere decently ranked. We'll see what the competition looks like for him, but in this moment, good job.
See, you're thinking about the Ian Gary as like, oh, he faced top competition and he didn't squeeze by. He's like, that was a short notice bout that they went 5 rounds and he almost turned the tables on.
That's a good
That's
point.
rematch worthy.
Yeah,
So
I'd be okay with that. I think that you're spitting facts on that one.
yeah, so I think Prates, I mean, genuinely not in the worst position after a loss. Like, you oftentimes see people who step up on short notice, like Young Sung Park, who stepped up on short notice and then gets finished. It's like, well, shit, you kind of lost the aura that you had just by stepping up. And like, he could have been the guy to, take that leap if he won, but like, he didn't. And Carlos Prates, in that moment, he took a short notice bout and lost, but he had some moral victories to it. And now coming back with a KO, it's like, boom, he's still right there. He is still right there.
Yeah, and I mean, a loss to Ian Gary that ages so well in the first place anyway. It's like, yeah, there really was no losing in that regard. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, he'll be fine. It's more of just like, how long do they hold him off
Rio,
from? Yeah, we're right. Exactly. We're gonna have to find out who his opponent in Rio is going to be. That's good. That'll be interesting.
they actually probably might do MVP in Prates.
Oh, all right.
They
Well,
both said they want to, but you know how that works out.
sure. All right. Well, keep an eye out. We'll see what ends up happening there.
Hell yeah.
Moving on to our co-main event, though, you want to talk about aura over here. I mean, this is Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. I didn't say it about MVP before, but MVP, the one trend bucker when it comes to people coming in from Bellator and actually doing well, but I had put my foot down on putting my support behind these newcomers from Bellator, and god damn am I happy that I did that with this and stuck to my guns, because Lerone Murphy coming out here and raising his stock tremendously with the finish that he needed. And also, one other note too, we were talking about how Chase Hooper could have raised his stock tremendously because he was on a decent little win streak but wasn't finishing. Lerone Murphy was kind of in that same boat. I mean, he had gotten a good amount of wins, but he wasn't necessarily known as a finisher. Gets a finish like this, now people are talking.
I think I knew this was going to happen. I was very confident that Lerone Murphy was going to win this fight by knockout or TKO. I can't tell you that I knew it was going to be a spinning elbow, nor can I tell you that I expected to see such great things from Aaron Pico.
Right.
I can see why Vegas was on to him. He genuinely was going to win this fight. I mean, listen, the crazy thing about this one is, like, you can always tell the vibes during a fight. You can feel it. You knew this was going to finish. Like, and I can't tell you, the other way that Pico was going to be on the other end of that, but I can tell you right here, he was throwing heat. He was hunched down and he was ready to throw. And then he got taken down a few times, got up, And that's one thing that people wanted to talk about is like Lerone gets taken down a lot in his fights, and yeah, he does. It is yet to become a factor that he cannot get up. People want to compare him to Leon. Listen. Leon can't get up like this dude. I've seen Leon lay on his back for multiple minutes, multiple tens of 15s of minutes. This dude, he gets right to the cage, he gets right to his legs, and he stands right up, gets to his base, and breaks the action. And genuinely, did I think he was going to win after what I saw for the first, 3 minutes and 24 seconds? No. Nope. I thought we were done, but I had confidence that something could happen. But in my mind, I'm watching like Pico's dominating this dude. This is not a good look. And then what happens? The Miracle himself throws a Hail Mary of an elbow that just destroys Aaron Pico, lays him out flat. Listen, I know we often talk about like that was one of the most devastating, like genuinely, this is up there. This dude went so lifeless. Like it was brutal. It was so brutal. And I love this one. Shout out to Lerone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All 100% facts across the board because for all of that saying how happy I was that I didn't go with Pico, I certainly was scared at the beginning of this fight because he came out with some really nice striking early on. He
The
got
wrestling is what was really key for me. Like, man, he really did dump him quick and like
yeah, you can tell that he has a well-rounded skill set the confidence was not unfounded. I will definitely, make that an assertion there. I mean, when everybody was saying, oh, this guy is a hot prospect, you saw why. Because yeah, the striking was definitely good. He got Lerone down to a knee off rip. I mean, he not full on dropped him, but it's the power. That's what I was going to say is that Lerone had to rise to the level of his competitor in this fight. And that was because Pico was really a fast starter, and how much I appreciate that. So great body work from Pico as well. Lerone ends up turning the body shots into a quick guillotine. He kind of transitioned that one pretty quickly, and then there was the hilarious note. This everybody always loves to jump on Joe Rogan's terrible commentary. This is another one you can add to that list where he goes, "Oh, Pico's in trouble. Oh, he's out."
yeah, yeah, nice.
It was
It's
that quick.
tight. It's tight. It is tight.
Oh, he's out.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a turn of a dime there. But yeah, great smothering top pressure from Pico when he took Lerone down. Lerone was able to get back up pretty quickly, but again, you can see all of the dynamics of why this Pico dude was as touted as he was. He ends
This
up
Pico dude is what he's been surmised as now. Is like he's just nobody. He's just that
Well,
Pico
I
dude
mean,
now.
no, no, I don't think so. I think after a performance like this, granted he did get sent to the shadow realm with the elbow, but like you could say that was like it was well placed. All of the things that went into it were like, it was not lucky is of course not the right word for it, but it was like definitely not on anybody's bingo card. I would like to see him in another fight.
I love this comment by Toby right here. The way these people are talking about Pico, like he's MJ of MMA. It's genuinely what you see sometimes. You will see somebody who hasn't performed in 2-3 years, and they will make it like this dude is the greatest of all time, coming back from the longest retirement ever, and he's coming back to reclaim the belts. And then he goes up against a decision merchant and gets fucking flatlined. Like it genuinely is. It speaks to like, in the UFC's mind, maybe they're like, okay, we can build up. This guy is like he's the only one that's good enough. If we get him against somebody who's going to go to decision, of course, that's a good UFC level comp for him to go against because then it proves that he can stand with them. And then he gets fucking flatlined in the first round. It's like you can't write a better script than this. If the UFC tried to have a script, they couldn't write it better than this. I mean,
Well, yeah, I
genuinely.
mean, and really, like the way that it's unpredictable is because it was supposed to be Mofsar, and then think about how different that fight would have been. I mean, and honestly, like
Mozart would
now,
have knocked him out too.
I
I'm confident.
right? I mean, who knows? And how crazy would that have been? Mofsar finally getting the knockout highlight that he's always needed. But either which way, I mean, I thought the Pico was doing pretty good up until he wasn't. Basically, I
Yeah.
mean, the spinning elbow landed so perfectly. You talk about the other one landing on the bone. This one landed flush on the face. And then not only was the elbow brutal, but the follow up shot. Have you seen that picture that's been going around? I posted it on Instagram on my stories if you haven't seen it. But the follow up shot, his fist is like inside of Pico's face. Like he
Nice.
really put a lot of force on that shot after Pico was well gone and in another world. So yeah, Pico was flatlined out. It was just that fantastic range and power, man. It's almost the same notes that I gave Christian Leroy Duncan last week, where I was saying that like when you have it at the exact right place and time and power level, you ratchet that up 10 times with this one. That's what you get. So, good on Lerone Murphy for finding it.
They are gonna act like they've been fans of Lerone the whole time. Oh no, I just really wanted them to get a finish. Like no, everybody for some odd reason I have been, and even against the English, against my Brits, against my mates, I've had to sit here and defend that Lerone is that good at striking, and it's not just that he's good and is elusive and will play the outside. When it is time, he knows that I have to stand my ground and give him one hell of a shot. And boy, does Aaron Pico not remember the shot that he got hit with. I tell you, Lerone Murphy. Now, listen, in 9 times out of 10, he whiffs that fucking elbow. Pico ducks right underneath him and takes him down fourth time in the round, sure. But in this one right here, I fucking cannot believe how for somebody that has only went to decision in the UFC. Okay, I think he has like two finishes or something like that. But for majority of his career, he's went to UFC decision. Was so confident that he was going to finish this Pico guy, and genuinely, when he threw up a ninja choke, I said, "No way is he going to sub him. That would be hilarious. That would be even holy crap if he gets a ninja choke." But then he does the unthinkable and flatlines him. Dude, it's one of those ones where it's a double impact, and not the shot after, of course. So you get the elbow, you see Pico fall, his ass hits the mat, and then his back hits, and it's like perfect, picture perfect. He is stiff as a board. Lerone is 17-0, and he is 100% fighting for the fucking belt next. I mean,
Well,
that's how you fucking do it on short notice. So
yeah, I mean, and you said it yourself just there that 9 times out of 10 the elbow gets ducked. So this is why I do think that Pico does deserve another shot. I don't think that this is like off to the gulag or anything like that. The way that he was fighting earlier in this fight like shows me that like he should be able to hold his own in a fight where that does not happen. So give the guy another chance before completely writing him off. But that being said, yeah, Murphy shot his stock into the stratosphere with this fight. Short notice, hot shot outsider. No one was sure about putting, the money on him. Who's going to really be the one to sway the course of the fight or whatever. And Pico was putting heavy pressure on early, gets out of all of that unscathed, but now he's got Alexander Volkanovski to worry about. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on that.
yeah, no, it's gonna be a tough one for him, but I think we'll talk about that one a little more if that actually does come to fruition. But this one right here, one hell of a performance for Lerone Murphy. God damn, what a fucking time. Bellator cans keep out. That's all I'm saying.
It's true. I mean, and that's something that was brought up in the chat on the watch along is that's like, why do they keep doing this? Well, I think that somebody was making a good point saying that like it's making a statement. You can't think like it shows that you can't come in here and think that whatever you did anywhere else is going to be as effective here unless you are MVP and that's about it. Other than that, it's also saying that if you are wanting to watch the best in the world, they are here. So,
Mhm.
any of these other organizations out there, like, yes, send your best, see what happens against the UFC.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And Pico, Uh, listen, I think it's just hilarious because when you watch the little promo packages that they have for Pico right before his fight, they got a video of him punching the pad off of his coach's hand,
Yeah.
and then they got him leg kicking his teammate, and he's like falling. It's like you couldn't have made it more hilarious that he came in here and lost because you want I see that shit so much and it makes me cringe. Like you set up like a promotion for it to look like you were so fucking good. Like, I don't know, dude. And then you come out here and you look like that, like flatlined. So hilarious. Like, I bet the pad would have flew really hard off of coach's hand with the elbow that Lerone was practicing, but
Yeah, really good point.
whatever.
Yeah, well, either way, great win for Lerone Murphy, and thank you very much for that. That plus money made that parlay that much sweeter. I was very glad. Finally a week where Thinker came out on top, so that's always a little bit nice. And if it was you, Toby, who said that in the chat on the watch along, then shout out to you. I appreciate
Yeah, somebody did make another great point in the chat right there. Honestly, fuck Mozart. If Larone isn't next, I will riot. No, seriously, I ride for this dude like big time now. It's just like, maybe it is because a lot of people don't, and I feel like a little, there's got to be a reason that some people don't want to ride for him, and that's maybe what's drawing me towards him, kind of deal. But Larone is genuinely good for 17-0 as a striker. I mean, you guys gotta just give it a break. Like, this guy's good. The same thing with Shara. Like, you guys just had to accept that he is good. And, he was knocking people well, and then, yeah, he just went to a decision with it's not necessarily, worlds turning, but like, bro, Shara, Mosvar, not Mo, well, Mosvar too. Yeah, Mosvar, Larone, like these guys are undefeated for a reason. They are good. And Larone Murphy rightfully needs title shots coming.
Yeah,
So
I mean, you're preaching to the choir here. I said all the way back in the Edson Barbosa fight with Lerone Murphy that I saw champ potential in him. So I've been on the train for a lot longer than most as well, and ride it out through all of the the touch and go decision wins and stuff like
mhm.
that. So I'm completely with it. I think that people like him and even Mofsar, like it makes the division very interesting. And now that we've got Volk back on top after all of what he went through and everything that's been going on with all the shakeups and stuff, like new blood is only going to make that division that much better. So let's start seeing some of these guys get those title shots, and we'll see how it all shakes out.
100%.
All right. Well, that brings us to the main event of the evening: Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. This was one of the most dominant, most boring title fights of all time, depending on how you look at it. I mean, I didn't think it was. I thought it was boring towards the end because it was samey, but I don't think that anybody can deny the dominance aspect of it. And for that reason, I was, I was in awe of what I was seeing, really, more than anything, I think.
See, but like that's the unfortunate part is like, yes, this was the most dominant performance by a title contender, and he took the belt with the most blatant scorecards towards him, whatever you want to say, the most lopsided scoring towards him. This fight, however, and this is unfortunately what you get. It's like when you're watching a matchup you shouldn't be watching, and he's dominating him, and you're just like, yeah, 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 he's doing that. He's doing it again. He's got his back again. He's got him in the crucifix, and it just really felt like it was a very outmatched, wrestling. And what can you do? I mean, this is the champ versus a contender, so clearly you had to eventually put them up against each other. But it was just so absurd to see Dricus have genuinely no answer other than putting his neck or his face into Hamzat's neck, which was very, I've seen a lot of gay things, and Dricus does a lot of them himself. But that one right there, inside the cage, Dricus is one of these dudes that prides himself on not looking like a bitch. Like, that's literally his whole game. And he genuinely looked like a fucking, I don't know, bro. We're talking about the 23 minutes of control time. I don't even want to give the conversation 25 minutes because it was so not the performance that we were hoping Hamzat was going to come into a title fight with. And he did what he did for 25 minutes, held him down, grabbed under his pits, kept his wrist locked, whatever you want to say, sure. But I don't think that, and it's also so funny. The promotional photos, they'll show a picture of Hamzat popping a jab on Dricus, and then they'll show the striking numbers. Like if he was striking with him the entire time and got 500 strikes, which is hilarious. But no, it was just 200 knees to his back, 300 pepper shots to his forehead, and that's basically all you saw. And that's just the unfortunate part.
Knees to ass.
Yeah.
So
Well.
many
Yeah.
knees to ass. Yeah, no, look, Dricus had no answers for the wrestling until the fifth round, and even then, no real answers. This is just not acceptable for a champion. Point blank, period. I mean, look, you can say, "Oh, it's all Hamzat. It's all Hamzat," and yes, I do. I understand why people are saying that. It's like Hamzat is this, undefeatable boogeyman. Blah blah blah. It's like there are answers. It's just Dricus did not have them. And I refuse to believe that there isn't anyone at middleweight who couldn't do better against Hamzat. I don't believe that. I believe that this is a solvable puzzle. And we've seen people have better success against Hamzat. A one-armed Gilbert Burns did better against Hamzat. So as a champion, this really falls more on Dricus than I was impressed by Hamzat.
I would love to believe that Dricus is at fault here. And Dricus did everything that he could. After the bell rang, he stayed positive and he went to his coach and he listened. But I think, and I even said it before, I'm pretty sure I even brought it up on the podcast, the video of Dricus's coach and the confidence that he had that this was just like dealing with anybody else's wrestling was glaringly apparent. And then after 4 rounds of the same thing happening and the coach letting him know that, now we got to do something. We got to do something different. Shit like that didn't fucking work. And then in the fifth, going into the 5th round, Dricus sits down and the coach looks at him and he hits him with the you just got to finish. I mean, you just got to do, and it's like they have nothing. There was no real game plan that they had when it came to the wrestling. It was just like, we're going to get up and we're going to give him hell. And it's like okay, well, what's the real plan? Because Dricus didn't actually do anything that was like a game plan. Once Hamzat got to the back and had him, crouched down, he just stood in the ball or sat in the ball because, the choke wasn't going to come. And even if it did, he could just pop it right off. So Dricus wasn't, he was in the negating the wrestling game plan, but there was no offering offense game plan. And that was what was going to win the fight. And you got outstruck by over 450 strikes. I mean, something's got to give, Dricus and the coach to get on Ariel Helwani the next fucking day and start talking about that you're not going to let this down. You're going to get this rematch. Shut it. Just shut up. Just outstruck by 450 strikes. Your student couldn't get out of anything, and it was. And this was the champ. And I know he's not no slouch. Like, Dricus is good. You guys have developed good game plans before. But Hamzat manhandled your boy. Like, it sucks.
I mean, that's why I really, when you brought that up in the Discord, I had said that I really do think that Dricus's coach might be the next Edmund Tarverdian. This is another example of a coach who is relying on the pre-established inherent skill set and dominant abilities of his student as opposed to imparting and guiding a game plan. So I think that the comparison is pretty apt between the two of them. And the delusion after this fight is definitely strengthening my argument there. Between round 3 and 4, coach really said, okay, we're going to fight him now. Bro, where were rounds 1 through 3, my guy? Okay, anyway. That all said, though, I mean, the times when Dricus would try to reverse, Hamzat would just get right back on him, just glued to his midsection the entire time. And one thing I do want to note here in Hamzat's, like, not defense, but in praise of Hamzat, is one of Hamzat's greatest abilities, aside from just getting the takedowns, is his ability to drag his opponents on the cage specifically. Like, anytime that his opponent is trying to get to the cage to get back up on their feet and then start working their way out and into open range and get out of his clutches, he has this great dragging motion that he will do where he starts off on one side and then just takes across his body over the cage, so that the opponent basically is like tripping over his knees. And it was highly effective here and has been highly effective for Hamzat in other circumstances. So he did a lot of that in this fight and it worked out really well. Obviously the crucifixes were, rampant and very apparent throughout all of this. At least Dricus didn't get his jaw rearranged, perhaps. He made it through all 5 rounds, 5, 10, 8 rounds, perhaps, but it is what it is. At least he, got to that. So there's your little silver lining if you're on Dricus's side. Yeah, I think that the lack of game plan is certainly apparent here. The lack of understanding of what you were getting yourself into in a fight like this when it came to his coaches was very glaring now. And that the delusion that you were talking about with him on Helwani does not give me any confidence going forward. I think that if Dricus is wise, he might want to consider changing camps, but it's going to be a little bit difficult being that, he is the big predominant athlete out of South Africa right now. And if he wants to continue being the African champ who trains on African soil and African born and bred, blah, 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 all of that, there might not be that many options for him in South Africa. Either way, something's got to give, because this was a performance unbecoming of a champion.
Yeah, it was definitely hard to watch, but at the end of the day, like a lot of people are saying, this was just not the exciting thing that I was really hoping for the title fight, coming from a fight that I really didn't know how it was going to go. It was either, in everybody's mind, it was either Hamza squeezes his head off in the first round, or Dricus, over 5 rounds beats him. This was 5 rounds of Hamzat hugging Dricus, and it was just, and that's literally all it was. I mean, it was just a hug fest, and it was unfortunate.
Dricus really became a wrestling dummy for 4 rounds and then tried to jump Gilly in the 5th.
Yeah, jumping Gilly was stupid. He did have moments in the striking in the fifth too, which was pretty funny because he landed one combination that looked like, oh, Hamza, oh my god, and then he gets taken down again.
Right.
It's like whatever. The first instance where he got taken down was arguably the best because he went for like a headlock. And then they kind of flipped over, but then you realize, whoa, Hamzat's just way better at this. Like I even said, last week, is like, if you think it's the same thing with Derek Lewis at this point. It's like if you don't think that Hamzat is going to land one takedown, like you're ridiculous. He's gonna if you don't think he's going to get his hands gripped around the waist one time, you're ridiculous. So you better plan for that with whoever you're picking against him. He's going to get them taken down. Like it's just going to happen. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that there was any real question about that. I think that where my mistake was thinking that Dricus would have some trick in the bag in that weird, awkward style that would be able to navigate it more effectively. And also, the other thing that I noted on the watch along that I think was another big downfall for Dricus was that he wasn't doing anything to tire Hamzat out. We know that Hamzat Chimaev will gas. I mean, that's something that we've seen. This is a 5-round fight. So you have to tire him out in those first couple of rounds, definitely the first two. I mean, by the third round, you're already treading in questionable territory because you've got a lot of ground to make up with those those last 3 rounds. But he wasn't doing anything that would tire him out. Every time that he would get taken down, he was just on the ground. Hamzat was just putting all of his weight on him, didn't have to move all that much. There was no explosive actions on Hamzat's side except to advance position, and then he would be able to rest again. So, the crucifix was a perfect position for him to be able to continue to conserve his energy, because all he had to do was lay on top of him. You get the arm trapped, and then all you got to do is just pepper shots. Like you said, little tap shots, and then you end up with these ridiculous numbers over here. And that looks great on the stats. We all know the reality of it, but as far as effectiveness goes and conserving the tank, he did all of that perfectly. So credit where credit is due. But again, I fault Dricus more than I praise Hamzat, because you cannot be a champion with this as a hole in your ozone layer.
yeah, I definitely agree. Dricus, the only thing that I could say is, I don't think you're going to beat Hamzat if these are the game plans you're coming out with. Go ahead, wrap up the career, go start your movie star lifestyle, get Andy Serkis to play your coach in a movie. You will definitely make plenty of money. I'm telling you, you're fine.
All right, so who beats Hamzat?
Nobody. No. I actually think that if that's what he's gonna do against everybody, I think Imavov is not gonna fight him. He's gonna say that it is due to religious reasons. He's not. That's my brother. I'm
Yeah.
not fighting him. Definitely seeing that one. Kaio not winning. I hate to break that one to everybody. That's a hard one to stomach. Fluffy may have the best chance, but just because that's the clear, obvious choice that everybody thinks should be able to deal with Hamzat, I also think he probably is going to get ragdolled for a second or two. I think at the end of the day, Hamzat is just going to hold up the belt and eventually retire early without actually defending it against many people.
Yeah, well, that's
He'll wait for the one that is like a super ham-me perform. Like Sean Strickland's trying to sell the fight, so he'll pick Sean Strickland to be the one. He'll go ahead and mop the floor with him in one round, and then he'll go like retire or something.
It would really upset me if Sean Strickland jawed his way into another title shot after all the bullshit that he's been putting the division through. But yeah, I mean, I am of the mindset that Fluffy does have the chance to do it with what we have seen. But of course, Hamzat is no Roman Dolidze. I think that there's probably potential there. People have been saying Rainier. I think
Oh
Rainier
yeah,
has.
he also gets fucking
Yeah,
destroyed.
that's kind of where my head is at as well. That's John Anik on the broadcast saying, "Oh, Renier de Ritter right now is saying, oh, I'm a pretty good grappler." I'm
He
like,
was
yeah,
fucking shitting himself, dude.
yeah,
Like
no
every one
way.
of them in the crowd. They showed Kaio, Fluffy, RDR, all of these guys had the face of I'm next, and that's not good. So whatever.
Yeah, I mean, what are the outside chances that Kamaru Usman goes up to middleweight and tries again?
Oh god. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see that
I
one.
don't see it
Kamara
either.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, he's just, listen, we don't even know if this dude's gonna fight again this year,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, and I guess the other question then that I have, speaking of, whether people will fight again this year, is how does Hamzat's health issues affect all of this? I've been saying that for years leading up to him becoming the champ now, is that, this guy, a swift breeze will have this guy sick for months,
Well, that was the most real. So shout out Dusty in the Discord, aka North. He said the only thing, and this is true as hell, the only thing that's gonna get over on Hamzat, the thing that's gonna lead to him losing the belt, if he does actually fight till he loses it, it is going to be a bad weight cut or some sort of sickness in a camp where he still decides to show up. And I don't know if he will. I think he might be the type of dude to cancel a main event if he's not feeling good, even as champ.
Yeah.
So I could totally see that happening, but him losing the belt, yeah, it's all dependent on his health for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, we're gonna have to see if he can stay healthy. He obviously took no damage in this fight, so if he wanted to fight again on quicker turnaround, he certainly could. We'll have to see who they want to match him up against. Like I said, I'd be very upset if Sean Strickland talked his way into a title shot based on essentially nothing, essentially just rumors that he's making up about him having success in the gym against Hamzat. Jim don't matter to me in the slightest.
Hmm.
So we'll see who they end up pairing him up against. But in this performance right here, dominance rained out. I mean, I said that I think I agreed with Dana. I gave Hamzat these rounds 10-8, except for the last one. So 50 40, what 50
One,
41, yeah. That's
nice.
kind of what I thought. So, that's very unfortunate for Drecus. Drecus's stock plummets off of this now. I mean, you don't get held down like that and come back in any kind of favorable light with the fan base, I would say. I think that he's going to be the butt of a lot of jokes going forward now after a domination like that. And, we're just going to have to see how things shake out for Hamzat as the champ now. But in this day right here, right now, you have a new middleweight champion of the world. So congratulations to Hamzat Chimaev.
Hell yeah.
And that will bring us to the end of UFC 319, Duplessis versus Chimaev. Chase, after talking it through, what are your final thoughts on this one?
Some decent moments, but overall, this was not the pay per view that it should have been. So,
Well, I thought the main card was very good. I thought that the undercard had some pretty good moments on it. I was enjoying this one. Obviously, two back-to-back spinning elbow knockouts is very cool. Main event, a little bit of a letdown, but you can't deny the dominance of Hamzat. So in that vein, I thought that was kind of cool to witness. Strikes and gutters, ups and downs on this one, I would say.
yeah, it is what it is. I'm waiting for this next week. This next card's going to be fun.
Well, let's talk about it. Next week coming up here is Mr. Johnny Walker versus Zhang Minyang. Now, keep in mind, everybody out there listening, this is an early card. So this is going to start at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Set your clocks wherever you are in the world. Might be better for you, might be worse, but I will. Both of us will be up for this early start. So 3 a.m. is the time to be on the streams. But Johnny Walker versus Zhang Minyang in the main event. What are you thinking, Chase?
This main event is a banger. We are definitely getting a finish. In typical UFC fashion, they give the two biggest guys 5 rounds, knowing damn well they are never going to get there.
I love it.
I love it too. I think Zhang Minyang is going to finish this one in the first round like he is always going to do. This dude's a finisher, man. He's a
Yeah.
Chad.
Oh, this is going to be yet another Johnny Walker goofy knockout highlight in the making right here. I mean, Zhang Yang is legitimately as advertised. This guy is a beast. He's
Hmm.
huge, and he's like, he is one of those dudes that goes out there and like finds the knockout no matter what you do. As far as what I've seen so far, like, Walker might try to be a little bit crafty with his movements. Not going to matter. I think that, especially for the fact that this is a 5-rounder, if he doesn't do it in the first, he'll do it in the second. If he doesn't do it in the second, he'll do it in the third.
Yep, I definitely agree. He's gonna get this one done. Shout out to my boy Zhang Yang. Johnny Walker has had too long of a layoff. He's already goofy enough, so imagine him with ring rust where he's not really in the zone. That's not a good look.
Shout out to Michael getting the reference. Yeah, no, I agree completely. Walker is a dude who he a spotty at best. I mean, like the fact, I think that this is a mismatch. Honestly, I know that Zhang Minyang is just starting out, so I guess it does make sense. As far as like where they are in the rankings and stats wise or whatever, but like I just think that this is just going to be a mauling, just
Mm-hmm.
point blank period.
100%.
All right, moving on down the line. Brian Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling. This has a potential to be pretty competitive.
The word on the street from Marcel is that this is a 5-round co-main event.
Oh, is it?
That's what Marcel said earlier.
Interesting. Okay, well, how do you think that affects things?
I think it makes it a little longer, and that's about all I'll say. No, it's they're gonna grapple. I mean, I think Aljo actually is gonna do very good on the feet against Brian Ortega. Aljo's not the best striker, but Brian Ortega is a punching bag. I mean, surely we know that these dudes are gonna be a stalemate in the grappling, but I think Aljo is gonna have better chance on the feet, and I'm just really hoping for that. Yeah, Aljo dominance is. The grappling, I think he'll be stronger. I think he'll be stronger than Brian Ortega because Brian Ortega is not this dude who ever looks like he's just been in the gym, like he's always pudgy. Aljamain, he's gonna show up looking like $1 million. Like he's gonna be straight out of the fucking gym, and he's always cut, chiseled, and ready to throw people around and get him in that the body triangle. So easy for me. I think I got Aljo.
Yeah, I would say it probably goes a little bit later, especially if it's a 5-rounder. Ortega is very durable, even with taking as much damage as he takes. So that would lead me to believe that, I'm not worried about Aljo like going out there and like barn burning him on the feet or anything like that. But I do think that if he's fresh, he has a little bit more of a potential to drag it out when it comes to the grappling. Aljo just stays the course. I mean,
Yeah.
he was a champ for a reason. He's still one of the most dominant wrestler grapplers that we have in this sport, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he's extremely well rounded and talented when it comes to the ground game. Like when I say that he is skilled in all areas of wrestling and grappling, as far as I'm concerned. He's very, very talented there. So it might take a little bit longer than expected, but I think that he pulls it off.
See, Aljo at 36, I didn't get to watch him during his title run, and a lot of people you'd be picking him in those fights. He was a very dominant champ. But as of right now, I look at him as like, okay, he's going to be the older vet. He's going to be the guy. Brian Ortega's a weird matchup for him, to be honest with you, because they're two old guys. But Aljamain, at this point, he's going to be in that gatekeeper kind of status, I think. And he's going to be the dude that I'm really going to put money on heavy when people start doubting his abilities. Because he really is somebody that the game is so, one, he's good everywhere. And his game is relying on what he's good at. His striking doesn't have to be amazing because once you get close, he goes for grappling. I think he does have the brains to stay long in this sport, and he doesn't necessarily take a lot of damage in any of his matchups.
Yeah, I was going to say the only thing I could see possibly happening is Brian Ortega maybe having more success on the feet as far as the striking goes, because he does have decent power when he gets his shots, like when he gets the shots that he wants. Like he's very much another one of these dudes that it's like when the fight starts going a different direction, there's not a lot of answers. Like he starts trailing behind very quickly when he gets overwhelmed. Aljo has potential to overwhelm him with the grappling for sure, but on the feet, he might be able to have his way a little bit. So that would also lead me to believe that it might drag out a little bit longer. Again, if this is a 5-rounder, it could go a little bit later than those first 3. But I think overall, in the end, Aljamain Sterling is able to pull this off pretty easily.
Yep, I definitely agree with you.
Yeah. All right. Well, next up is Sergey Pavlovich versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. We've been saying for a while that Sergey Pavlovich is not who he once was, sort of a shadow, a shadow of his former self. Waldo is just a dude who somehow seems to keep winning, even though he never looks great.
Waldo at dog money. Take the decision. Thank me later. These dudes are going to be as passive as you can imagine. Sergey plays the outside. He's too passive. He doesn't ever go for the kill. Waldo hasn't tried to punch anybody since Lucas Brzeski. This one is going to decision. Just thank me later. Waldo is on his way to a Tom Aspinall fight at the White House.
Are we really just going to never believe that Sergey Pavlovich can be that again, can be him again?
It's not about belief. You're asking if we are never going to
Okay, well, is
believe
it
that.
never going to
No, no,
happen?
that's what's gonna be key. It
Right.
is not going to happen. That is unfortunate. That
All right.
he is genuinely just never going to look like he once did. And if you don't believe me, minus 225, go for it. But dude, he has not looked good since the Tom Aspinall fight. Waldo is as consistent as they come. You may not like it, but he gives you what he is going to give, and
Yeah.
that's every matchup. And he's
Yeah.
got a chin on him, so I'd be
True.
okay if Sergey actually looks good, and then Waldo has to actually come up with something. He doesn't get hit that often, so.
True. Yeah. And I mean, I say that more of devil's advocate because really after the Rosenstrike fight, I think that we saw almost everything we needed to know because that was the time that he should have been back to form. Like he
Mhm.
had the time off. It was after the Volkov fight. There was extenuating circumstances there. This was a completely fresh slate with the Rosenstrike, and he just again looked like a shadow of himself. Looked like
Right.
a shell of the former greatness. So
Eh,
yeah, it's unfortunate to think that that might be the absolute case here, and we've seen it. I mean, Tom Aspinall was supposed to fight John Jones for a while. I'm sure you might remember. John Jones had that effect on people. You fight John Jones, and you're not the same afterwards. Dominic Reyes only now, only all of these years later, is just starting to turn the ship the other way after that. So I mean, maybe Tom Aspinall has the same effect on people. I don't. I think it's a little early to say that. Curtis Blades has not been having that great success either. Yeah, that kind of thing. I don't know. All I'm saying is that when it comes to Pavlovich, yeah, we have seen a dramatic backslide in ability and output. And you're exactly right about Waldo. He is consistent, and he's a guy that I think is a little bit too cocky for his own good. But as long as it's been working, it's been working. So, you know what I mean? Like, for as long as it's going to be successful, he will stay doing what he has been doing consistently and reliably.
And now, again, I normally don't take this into big consideration, but if you do want the facts, this is the first Southpaw opponent that Waldo is going to be fighting in the UFC. I just fact checked that. At least since Lucas Dretsky, and I believe that was his debut. So take that as you will. Will Sergey, this is going to be his opportunity to give Waldo something in the striking that he hasn't seen. Will he capitalize on that? I'm going to go ahead and say no.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't put as much stock in the stance. Like, I mean, I understand why it's considered the way that it is, but like, I really, if the aggression is there, then the stance shouldn't matter as much. Like, because Pavlovich could come out here, walk straight forward, and just start bombing shots, and it
Hmm.
it could work. I mean, that's what he used to do. That's literally what he was known for. The dude never got out of a first round. He has not been that guy for a very long time. I don't see anything that's leading me to believe that he's going to come back and be that again. So show me. That's really, I mean, Sergey Pavlovich has the opportunity to shut this conversation down real quick with a fight like this. This would be a great fight to do that in. And then they're talking about, or you were talking about him, Waldo being on the White House card. Sergey comes in here and just steamrolls him. Then maybe America versus Russia, or well, I guess it would be Tom, but whatever. Anyway, just having a Russian on the card could be a nice little rallying thing for the American audience. Who knows?
Yeah, too bad that Tom already disposed of this guy in 20 seconds, but that's okay.
Fair. That is a good point as well. But I mean that would be another nice little thing that could happen again, and we get a nice show out of it. For there's reasons for everything. But either which way, I mean, this is a chance for Sergey to show that he is still that guy, even if he has not looked that way for a long time. Do I think it's going to happen? Also, no.
I'm excited to take the dog money on this. Like, you have no idea how good of a hit this is going to be. guys should listen to me.
All right. Well, there you go. Listen to Chase. And of course, I mean, we agree on this one, but where we diverge, we are both streaming this podcast to our individual channels. Go like the channel that you think has the better takes here.
True, 100%.
All right. Well, moving on down the line here. Sumadarji versus Kevin Borjas. What are you thinking?
Kevin Borjas notoriously lost to Josh Van, so I always would critique him for that. In his last performance, he actually looked very good, and maybe Josh Van was just way better. And obviously, we know he's a top talent in the sport, and at that time, he was still just levels above Kevin Borjas on the feet. Kevin Borjas is a striker, Sumerdaji is a striker. I would like to say I want to take Kevin Borjas in this one, but Sumerdaji. And I'm trying to think of who he just beat in his last fight. I can't remember, but either way, Kevin Borjas did impress me in his last fight, so I'm going to go with him, even though he's way shorter.
Is Sumadarji coming off a win?
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, and Mitch
Mitch
Raposo. Yeah,
Raposo.
that was. But yeah, Raposo was. Yeah, that wasn't that great a fight though. That's why I was. That's why I wanted to check because I was like, yeah, there's something there that I was like, I don't know if I really want to be putting my cards in that camp with Sumadarji. I'm gonna go with Borjas also on this one. I think Borjas is probably a little bit more dynamic than Sumadarji is. He's very for flyweight especially, he's not super quick. Like he's a little bit more of like a stand your ground kind of guy, if I recall. He's not very light on his feet. I think Borjas is going to be a little bit quicker than him, probably be able to get his way a little bit more.
100%.
All right, now we're getting down into some of the guys that I am not. Oh no, yeah, I do remember this guy. I think. Well, anyway, I'll try to pronounce these names and we'll we'll talk about it. It's
Tyalaki.
Tyalaki Neuralje. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Naraji.
Okay. What Chase said. Versus Kiefer Crosby.
Yeah.
You go for it because I remember this guy? I think is he a Road to UFC guy?
Who even knows? Who even cares? Kiefer Crosby's just a random Irish lad, and yeah, no. This dude didn't come from any road to the UFC, but that was back in 2023. So he's been just making his way, and they just pulled him up to fill the fight card. So will he win? Possibly not. I mean, Kiefer Crosby is somebody that I know his name for some reason, so he must be a decent level vet. Okay, he's Bellator bum. Oh goodness, and I was only lost in the UFC. Great. Okay,
Yeah, 10-5.
Yeah, so let's just not play anything on this one, guys. Let's just not.
I'm gonna go hometown. I'll go with Neuralji.
Naraji. There's no L there.
Naraji.
No
Okay,
L.
fine. Okay, Naraji. I'll pronounce it and then I'll go with him.
There we go. Okay, yeah, we're taking Naraji.
Sure. I mean, there's got to be a reason they got him on the main card, right? I would hope so.
He's 11-1.
Yeah, 11-1, and in Shanghai at home.
This could be Tofik. This could be Tofik. This could be any other hometown guy that they got pulled. David Martinez kind of deal, like those, whatever you want to say.
Sure. Yeah. So, all right, we'll go with him on that one. Not too much information to be going off of just yet. But this one we got more information about. Mahashate versus Gage Young. Gage Young came in on short notice in his last fight, did not win that fight, but thought that he had a decent amount of heart in it. Mahashate has been around for a good amount of time. Mixed results a little bit, but only 10-4. So, I don't know. This might be another big test for Gage Young, I would say.
Yeah, but this one's unfortunate because Gage Young coming in on short notice and putting on one of the worst performances that we've seen, from people on short notice from the Contender Series. He got his ass whooped, and that's unfortunate. I was a big fan of him coming off the Contender Series, and that's why I was really hoping that in this fight right here, he'd come in at a dog, because I would definitely take dog money on Gage Young here. But him coming in at a favorite, Vegas must see what I'm seeing. But then also at the same time, they're overvaluing somebody who's never won in the UFC. And that's what I think is hard to wrap my head around here.
Yeah, I mean, Mahashate is a UFC veteran at this point, even in defeat. And again, only 10-4. It's not like he's been, taking crazy loss after loss after loss after loss. I mean, he knows the game. He knows ball at this point. Gage Young still trying to find his footing, getting a big call up in my estimation with this. I think that dog money makes sense on this one.
100%.
All right. Lanier Kavanaugh versus Charles Johnson. Love this fight. This is a big, big test for Lonnie.
Literally should be on the main card or the featured prelim bout. I don't know what they're thinking here. Big test for Lonnie, of course. I genuinely don't know how I see Charles winning this because Lonnie is so good at grappling and he's so relentless when it comes to, you know, when he gets people on the ground, he's not there just to hold them. He's there to actually inflict some damage, and he knows how to hold positions, and he's very good on his feet. He's very powerful. Will Charles Johnson meet his demise? Don't think so on the feet. Maybe a submission is coming for Lonnie.
Could be. I think that amazingly so, because CJ is so much older, but I do think that Charles Johnson might be a little bit faster than Lonnie Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh's another dude who, even at flyweight, is not crazy with his footwork. He's
Hmm.
another kind of plant his feet and throw bombs kind of guy. Johnson is definitely more dynamic. You know, he's definitely taller and longer. I think that Johnson's going to offer some pretty heavy challenges for Kavanaugh. We've seen Kavanaugh overcome some challenges in the past, and I do like his style, and I do root for him often. But I think that veteran experience wins out in this one. I think that there are too many factors in Johnson's favor on this one, even with the good things that Kavanaugh brings to the table. He might be able to bomb him. I mean, we did see, Johnson has been knocked out. We've seen him get dropped before in fights, and there have been times where he's been a little bit too overzealous with his movement. So there are pitfalls with Charles Johnson, but I do think he's leveled his game up over the years because he is very, very active. I'm going with Charles Johnson on this one. I think the veteran, all of those elements that I had just laid out, I think is what's stacking the deck.
You also have to know that Charles Johnson, whether you want to take too much into consideration that he lost his last fight, his last opponent did pop for PEDs. So was it a clean loss? No. But did he lose 3 rounds? Yes, to certain judges. Did he think he lost all 3 rounds? No. So, whether you want to roll with that or not, Lonnie Kavanaugh is a prospect that is very hot. And Charles Johnson is the veteran that has stifled hot prospects already. So pick your poison on this one, but I mean, Lonnie Kavanaugh by finish is what I'm going to go with the hopes that we have prospects on the way in and not Charles Johnson holding us down again.
Fair, fair. I mean, that's all sound assessments there. I think that maybe I'm just a little bit more of a fan of Charles Johnson, and I don't look at it as a holding up of the division if he does win. But at the same time, does the run start now? Yeah, I don't know about that either.
Why wouldn't this be holding up of the division? He's not getting a title shot.
I mean, if he wins his fights, he wins his fights. That's Lonnie Kavanaugh goes
Yeah,
back to the drawing board. You know what I'm
no,
saying?
no,
I
no.
mean,
I agree. If he wins, he wins. Fair play. But if he wins, how is it not fair to say that having a 34-year-old in the picture of like keeping prospects out is not like, I don't know. I just can't see that as like a great thing going forward, unless it's
yeah.
somebody like Malcolm Wellmaker who's 35 and a prospect kind of deal. Like,
Well, because I would say that any of the people underneath him can leapfrog him with good performances. So it thins the herd underneath his ranking, so that the people who get past him, it's almost like a gatekeeper without actually keeping the gate, so to speak. Like he's that precipice point where, like, if you can
the
do
moat
something.
keeper.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, so you have to be spectacular in your own performances because you can leapfrog him, or you get through him, and then the win counts there too. So,
He's just
I
that troll under the bridge that you have to solve the riddles for. Yeah, I get you.
exactly. He pulls his riddles out from that little skullet on the back of his head there.
Bingo.
All right, so
So who are you
divergence
taking in
there.
that one?
Oh, I'm taking Charles Johnson. Yeah.
Okay, you're on drugs. All right, let's
All
go.
right.
Next
Well,
one.
I'm time when that hits. Galaxy Brain St. James over here. All right, next one. Rongju versus Austin Hubbard. No drugs needed for this one. This is going to be a blowout for Rongju, I think.
I'm still so confused about this because I always thought Rongzu was a lot smaller of a fighter, and the fact that Austin Hubbard is like somebody that I think of like as farm strength kind of guy. Like he's just a big, full kind of. He's been eating good meals, whatever you want
Yeah.
to say. But like, I don't know. I think that he is the type of dude that can fuck up performances. So giving him a plus 235 tag, I'm feeling decision for Austin Hubbard right here. He's going to hold him down and decision merchant the shit out of him. Actually, he'll probably sub him. Actually, sub or decision for Austin Hubbard. That one is the play right there.
All right. Well, maybe you're the one doing the drugs then, because I think Rongju is going to be able to catch Hubbard on the feet early, and Hubbard's not going to. Hubbard might be able to panic shoot, but that's going to be about as good as that gets, because Rongju's boxing is next level. This guy has hands on deck, and he will throw them with reckless abandon.
See, but Kurt Hollabaugh is a pretty good striker as well. He's complete shit on his back, but when it came to the striking, Austin Hubbard was able to navigate that well enough to get to the takedowns without taking damage, kind of deal.
Yeah, Kurt's way slower than Rongju though. Rongju's
Okay,
fast.
fair.
Yeah, Rongju's got speed on his side. Like that's when you were talking about the size difference, I was noting that as well because Hubbard, like he's very big for the division. Like he's bulky in his frame. He's got a lot of
Yeah.
like meat on the frame. Like you said, he like it looks like he's not missing meals kind of thing. But Rongju, I think, is going to just use that to his advantage, be able to get out of the way of the shots, get out of the way of the shooting attempts. You know, I mean, like if Rongju gets backed down, I would be insanely surprised in this fight in any capacity. Like if Hubbard's going to have to shoot from across the cage and go full on octagon to octagon wall in order to try to get him to the fence. I just don't see it. And
Worked
Rongju
for
will,
Walter Walker. I mean,
well, apples and oranges, I would say in comparison here. But yeah, Rongju, I really believe in the power that this guy has in his hands, and I think that 2 or 3 good ones to the face is going to change the whole strategy for Hubbard, and it's going to be a lot of ankle picking that ain't going to work.
yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Hubbard on this one. I like a lot of dogs here, guys.
All right, well then there you go, another divergence there. Hubbard for Chase and Rongju for me. Moving on down the line, Michel Pereira versus Kyle Dawkins coming back from wherever he was at for so long. But why? I don't know. But I guess it's against Michel Pereira, so there's a chance.
You know, when I think about a fight, and right, and I'm like, okay, we put a fight in China. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
think of Michelle Pajeda and Kyle Dukakis. Yeah, this is great. I love this one. My Chinese fans are going to go crazy for this one when they see Kyle Dukakis, whatever this dude's name is, walk out here. Like, look at this picture. Look at this picture right here. I can just imagine him walking out, and the Chinese fans just go straight to playing on their phones. Like, so this fight probably ends in the first round if Michelle is on the winning side of it. If not, Kyle is probably just going to hold him down. And then Michelle is going to, I don't know, he's gotten to decision before. It's a 3-round fight. He's got to have to make an impression that, like, you can't completely write him off and, like, get him out the promotion. I don't see a way that he loses on a full camp against somebody on short notice. Michelle is going to finish him in the first round. First or second round, I think, is key.
Michel needs to make sure that when he comes into this fight that his cardio is just at least that he can walk to the cage.
Mhm.
Like if he can make it to the cage without gassing out, then he has a shot to do all of the things that you just said. But this guy's cardio has been so abysmal in some of his more recent performances that it's just always questionable. God forbid if this guy pulls a dance routine in Shanghai, I'm going to pull out what little hair I have left.
Yeah.
So, you know, all I'm saying is that Michel Pereira can win this fight, and I do think he's going to win this fight. But if he even slightly moves too dramatically in one direction, Kyle Dawkins has a chance because this dude's tank is non-existent, and he puts everything that he has. He's like Hamzat without the full-on skill set, you know, all gas early, but you know gassing immediately thereafter. So
All gas and emergency brake is basically what he's got, you know?
bingo, exactly. So yeah, so I mean, do I think Michel Pereira wins this fight? Yeah, I do. Do I see potential for this to go completely sideways and rando Kyle Dawkins, who just crawls out from underneath a rock back into the organization, getting a win? It would be very. I think it would just be kind of unfortunate, but could it happen? Absolutely, it could happen because it's Michel Pereira, and he has certainly found ways to lose fights worse.
Hell yeah. I definitely agree.
All right. So we both going Michelle on that one then?
We're going Michelle.
All right. Yija versus Weston Wilson. What are you thinking?
So what I'm thinking is that Weston Wilson has now become the loser to the Road to the Final UFC's first entry into the UFC. So he also fought Jeka Sergey, who ended up losing to Anshul Jabli, got knocked out in the Road to the UFC finals. Weston Wilson then fought Jeka Sergey and submitted him in the first round. Yiza has also lost in the Road to the UFC finals against Mr. Jo Hung Young, Lee, I think is his last name. Sorry, I think it's Ji Hung Lee or something like that. Either
Hmm.
way, lost to him. Now we got him against Weston Wilson. Yiza has 13 submissions, which is pretty nuts. That's a lot, but minus 1,500 tag for somebody who couldn't even win in the Road to the UFC. I mean, I've seen it before. I've seen this story play out already. Weston Wilson first round finish, probably, or decision. I would love to see it.
If you're a gambling man, you put a straight small money bet on Weston Wilson at that price tag. Maybe there's potential for the big upset. And it does happen. We talk about betflation on this show, and this
Mhm.
certainly does have the feeling of that. But I mean, Yija coming out here and just grabbing him, getting a hold of him, taking his back and getting his neck, certainly potential for that. Sounds likely. Weston Wilson has been less than impressive, and 17-9 certainly does not inspire anybody. But yeah, like I said, if you are a gambling man, go for the small money straight on Weston Wilson. Otherwise, just stay away from this fight.
Hell yeah. That's what
So
I would do.
yeah, I'll go with Yija. Obviously, if to have to pick somebody just because it makes sense, I believe. But pray for the upset.
Yeah.
All right. Zhao Long versus Su Young Yu. Now we know Mr. Yu and his Yu Jitsu, right? This is Yu Jitsu, is it not?
Yep.
Okay, so Yu Jitsu is somebody who prides himself on his kind of unique approach to jujitsu, of course, coming out of Korea. And Zhao Long is more of a striker, if I recall, right?
Yeah.
So he's pretty tough on the feet, if I remember correctly, and I think I do. So styles make matchups over here. What do you think?
I think this one's a very good one. Zhao Long is he's a madman. He really is. He's really fun to watch. But Jiu-Jitsu, I think, is just gonna be too technical for him. He has all the weapons on the ground, and his striking is comparable to any basic person that can hold their own on the feet. That's what Su Young Yu will be able to do. Zhao Long is crazy, but will the crazy be able to be honed in enough? Like going back to the tough finale with Rodrigo, he's got that X factor element. He's a little unhinged, but he knows how to hone it in when it comes to the matchup. Xiao Long, will he be able to control it when he's in the positions that he doesn't seem to be winning? We will see. Or will that frustrate him and get him further into the trap? I don't know. I think Su Young Yu is my pick, though.
Yeah, I would say so as well. The only thing that concerns me is that I don't recall seeing Su Young Yu getting like really like having the heat put on him in a real heavy way. Like I don't
Hmm.
remember him having like an opponent that was just going to walk down and just start raining shots on him. Zhao Long might be able to do that, and I think that I say that to say the only thing that concerns me a little bit about you is that he seems to rely on the technicality a little bit more than grit. And when you have a grittier fighter, they could go tough for tough, and then that might end up being your downfall. It's like, oh, well, I can just be the better, well-rounded fighter. Well, sometimes the dude's just going to come in there and just beat your ass. I mean,
Yeah.
that would be my concern there. But I don't know if Zhao Long's going to be the guy that's going to be able to pull that off. So I'll agree with you. I'll go with you as well.
Hell yeah.
All right, and starting off this card is Uran Satabaldiev, remember that guy's name, versus Dair Nurgashay. Got both of those right. What do you
Yeah,
think?
this one's going to be good. We saw Uren step up to heavyweight on short notice in his last matchup. That was when he fought a guy literally 60 pounds heavier than him on like 3 days' notice or something like that, which was nuts.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and then arguably won. Or actually, no, he didn't, but it was one of those weird judges' calls kind of deal.
definitely took a round at least.
Yeah, yeah. So whatever. And then Dyer Nurgashay is somebody who we've been watching since the Contender Series, and the only real thing that we can say about him is he has that weird tick where he keeps touching his face. But other than that, he's a decent striker and has knocked people out before. I I think this one is a solid first fight, but I'm gonna say it goes to decision. From what I've seen with Urine, I don't think he's gonna put his face into the fire too much, and Nurgashay is not an advanced striker enough where it's going to be like a firefight the entire time. Like it'll just be him throwing some, him throwing some, him throwing some more. Like it'll just be a back and forth kind of deal. It won't be a fire.
It could be. I mean, based on what we saw out of Sadabaldiev, I think that maybe full camp, more natural weight, maybe he has a little bit more of a comfort level to go out there and go after it a little bit more. Maybe he fights a little less defensively and kind of uses his power more effectively, because he was powerful enough to hold his own at heavyweight. Now
Right.
he's so I think that there's probably going to be a good amount of residual that carries over to light heavyweight, if not more than that. I mean, the fact that he was able to hold his own up a weight, take the power down to the weight underneath, like there's potential there to be the more powerful guy. At least with the hands. I know that the one thing about Nurgashay that I remember, aside from the tick you were talking about, is that he does have decent kicks. I do believe on the Contender Series, he knocked his opponent out with a body kick, I want to say. Might have been a kick to the head, but it was a kick either way. So, he might be able to keep it more ranged, and that might make it harder for Sadabaldiev to get on the inside and land some strikes. If that's the case, then maybe Nurgashay ends up, kind of pointing his way to a decision. But I want to believe that Sadabaldiev comes in here and schools this guy, because I thought that Nurgashay, I was already questionable with him on the Contender Series. He made it into the organization, got a win there. Still did not feel like it was like one of those things that really swayed my opinion overall. Sadabaldiev certainly made more of an impression with his performance at heavyweight. For those reasons, I think that I will go with him. I think that he comes in here, puts the power on him. Nurgashay folds and probably doesn't see the shots coming because he's wiping his eyes and closing his eyes all the time.
Yeah, probably. That would definitely be hilarious. So I would love to see a finish in this, but I'm tentatively going to say this goes to decision.
I just don't know how long he's going to be able to last with that tick. I mean,
Mhm.
because it's one thing, Diego Lopez has the throat touching thing. I mean, people have it, Dustin with the shorts pull up, but I mean, his is so pronounced and so detrimental to navigating a fight that I really think that it's going to bite him in the ass sooner than later. Not saying it'll be this fight, but you literally are blinding yourself on a
Mhm.
regular basis. It's a lot. So keep an eye out for that. If you're not aware, that's going to be something very noticeable with Nurgashay going into this fight.
Yeah. No, I agree. This one will be fun though, but I think this card is something to look forward to, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, both myself and Chase Parton will be rolling out of bed and rolling onto the stream. You can find me at youtube.com/@Yama Show watching these fights with you. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you.
They can find me on youtube.com/@CP Smalls, and we will be giving you live content every Saturday that the UFC has something going on, and occasionally live on Fridays when the One Championship is going ahead and giving their Friday fights. If I don't get it live, it'll be later on in that week, and I will let you know on Twitter, most likely at x.com/@creativeparton, Partin.
Make sure you follow my boy and go watch those one watch alongs because that's good times over there. I am on Twitter and on Instagram at Yama Show. The Smashing Machine documentary review is taking a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but trust me, it is worth the wait. It is going very well as far as the editing goes. Going to have a lot of nice visuals to go along with our commentary there. It's a nice, long, full in-depth review of the documentary that you're going to be able to watch and get all of our impressions of before you go see the Smashing Machine movie that's coming out next month. So keep an eye out on the channel for that. Should be out either tomorrow or the next day at the very latest, but it is coming very soon, and we will have that for you. And of course, be back for the fights. So until then, everybody have a great rest of your night. Have a great rest of your week. And as always, fight on.
Game.